he kept saying he kept getting bad starts, and if he just got a start, he would like beat me. Well, he did get a start, and I pulled away from him, but I didn't even want no excuses. Like I was like, all right, well, he can say like Sorby held him up or whatever. So like halfway through the race, I'm like, well, I'm a little halfway. I only got like 10 minutes to outrun him. I'm slowing down. So I let it happen.
Tagline, no excuses.
Yeah, and then but it was always, it was nothing he did, because I didn't even talk to Chad. Like we never got any like, you know, me and Brownie had animosity. He took me out at a test track one time. Yeah. Sometimes I would make the thing stiff just to have feedback on there, because I didn't like bikes that didn't have feedback. So I would make it stiff just so I can feel it in my hands, like on there. And so doing that, like people always like, oh, that's how you lose the front end. Well, that's one of the negatives to having it stiff. But
do you remember after Hansen won, we went to that club after, and you were going to get in a fight with somebody? Was it?
I got hit by a bottle.
Yeah, you were going to get in a fight in this bar, and we had a concussion that night. And we're like, we shouldn't be fighting anybody. We shouldn't even be in here.
I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Tell the world I'm coming.
I'm back where I belong. Yeah, I never felt so strong.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy James Stewart. We're here at the compound in our little studio, and this is a podcast, episode number 7. I got my boy Roger here. I got Cole Beach. Yeah, Beach. I still remember his name, but episode 7, and I got a special guest, and it's kind of fitting that it's number 7. You guys will recognize this guy. I've been a fan of him before a long time. Back when he worked at Kawasaki, when he worked with Emick, I thought he was the coolest mechanic with his glasses on, had the big #1 plate on the Kawasaki. And in end of 2001, I started working with him, and our career began right there. So I want to introduce a good friend of mine, a guy who's basically molded my career, helped me become who I am today. And you guys will recognize him. So I want to introduce Jeremy Albrecht. We call him JBone. What's going on, man?
What's up? Happy to be here.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming down. I mean, when we started working together, it was 2001. Yeah, you guys were trying to like home me in the Kawasaki. And truthfully, like you're one of the reasons I came to Kawasaki.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Never knew that. So
yeah.
You never told. This might be good. Learn some secrets here.
I'm hiding it in.
Oh, we're going to learn a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll learn a lot of stuff we didn't know here.
Yeah, it's funny. Like you start thinking about like, you know, when I knew you were coming on, and we've spoken since. We've had, you know.
Not a lot though, to be honest.
I know. It's funny. Like, why?
I didn't know this till.
Like why?
Honestly, like when you left the JGR team, it kind of went, it was going good, and then it went bad right at the end.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, you know what? Screw him then. If he wants to be like that, that's cool. I got enough friends. I don't need any more.
Well, it was
but
hard.
I saw you at Redbud.
Yeah, we saw you.
And I went and talked to you, and I'm like, I'm over it.
Yeah.
That was a long time. Like,
that was Redbud 20.
We went 2020, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was when I was working for Chase. Yeah.
That was like 8 years that I haven't talked to you at all, which is not cool.
Yeah. I mean, especially like with us, like, I mean, again, like you're the reason I went to Kawasaki. I mean, to be honest with you. And I think for me, like the whole JGR thing, it was hard because like I knew how much we like worked and I knew like, I mean, I was already on the Yamaha before, like at L&M, and it was kind of the same thing. And we created this gas tank, and you guys were coming down here after the races on Saturday, driving down Sunday. And I think part of the reason like it got that way for me and I got quiet is because I felt bad. Like, I mean, to be honest with you, like I felt bad because it was like it's a tough position to be in. Like, I'm like, dude, I actually know I can't win on this bike. And the fact is, like, I mean, there was a lot of incentives. Like the team, I loved everybody there. I actually liked being in North Carolina, and there was a career after racing in the NASCAR, and it was a ton of money. But like I knew like I couldn't win, and at that point it was like all I cared about, it was never the money. It was always about winning. And I'm like, you guys brought me here to win races, and it was tough. And I know for you guys, like thinking about it now, it almost seemed like I quit because like it was our first year together. We didn't even make a full year, but it was my third year on that bike. And so, I mean, it was like, I already know where it was. So it was tough. And that's probably the reason why it got that way. So I could see the animosity, but it was never because of like I was, upset at you guys. It was, I mean, honestly, it was partly embarrassing and not embarrassing, but I just felt bad. Like, and that's the truth. So I'm glad we met at Red Bull, because like we started talking and we're like,
I know, it kind of was like easy, huh? It's
yeah, I mean, why? Like, you know what I mean? It's not like there was something. And at the end of the day, like, I think we all realized like it was, it was a no-win situation we were in. And, it's just, when you get those relationships, it just sucks. Like you get so invested in the people that you work with that like, that's the part that hurts, not being able to win on the bikes. I mean, that was going to happen, but I just felt bad for, everybody else that's working, so yeah, and it took a long time until this year for them to win on that thing. So, it's not like that, but yeah, it's good. And I was pumped to hear you when when Raj got you to come down and we asked you to come down, you were like, yeah, no problem. So that's
and
awesome.
I checked with Coy because I knew we ended it.
Yeah.
Because I still work there. So
I love Coy's.
Sure cool.
Coy's response was the best ever.
Yeah. Coy said, just tell him the truth. Tell him how bad that bike was. And really, sorry. I mean, for us, we knew the Yamaha was tough back then, and we knew you wanted to ride a different brand.
Yeah.
And that's how we started talking, because we knew you wanted to ride a Suzuki.
Yeah.
So we thought we were going to do Suzuki. So kind of was all looking like it was going to be great. And then last minute, Yamaha knew they were losing you and us. Yeah. And then they finally made an offer to Coy that he couldn't refuse. And then I remember having to call you and go, man, we're staying Yamaha. And
yeah.
Like, really?
Yeah.
And then you said, all right, bring it down here. Because you didn't ride our bike yet.
Yeah.
So that's when we brought our Yamaha down here so you could try it. And then you were saying how it felt wide. So Coy started cutting it up while we were here, like in the driveway.
Here.
Yeah. Yeah, he started like modifying it and doing stuff. And we're like, you can't ride it after that. He goes, I just want to get him to sit on it because if I can make anything. And he did. Like we made this gas tank. We went home and scanned a Suzuki because that's what you liked.
Yeah.
And we made the gas tank narrow, the shrouds we had custom made, the seat we made longer, like everything to make it feel the way it did. Like we tried a lot.
Everything. Everything, dude. We were putting like, pins in to stop the frame from flexing. And
well, maybe some of that's maybe taking shape now because I think that Yamaha's
it's skinnier now because of that gas tank. Yeah, and then we go to the first race and I fall and the shroud comes off because of the gas tank. So Yamaha wasn't pumped on that. First race was a struggle, but that was the thing. Like there was, and I actually kind of forgot about that until you brought it up, but it started off like that way. So even like going into it, like it was like, all right, well, I'll come to you guys, and we were all going to Suzuki, and switching it up. And then the last minute, then, the Yamaha thing came up. And then obviously as, back then, like the factories, they still might be that way today, but they were struggling trying to even get funding for the team. So if you can't get funding, then this whole thing's a wrap. You can't pay me, you can't pay the guys. And so I know Corey was in a tough position because like he knew where I wanted to go, but he also knew like you can't run a race team without them. And when you brought that bike down here and I saw you guys doing that and kind of the whole like, working with you again, working with Dean again, and then being able to kind of do whatever we want, at least try. It was like, okay, maybe we can make this thing work. But it wasn't too long before like I knew like I'm like, damn, like dude, like
and then
you're giving up a lot.
Pirelli tire thing.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. Yeah.
We had a lot of change. And really, if we would have been starting fresh on that bike, I think it would have been easier, but you already had a bad taste.
I almost died like 5 times before then,
before we even got to JGR.
Yeah. And so
we only had 9 lives. We were already on 8.
We were on 8.5 already. But it was, the biggest thing was it was everybody, working. That's the part like that killed me the worst. It was how much everybody cared and they worked. And again, it's not like I went to many places, in my career that people didn't care, but this was different. Like, they were leaving their families and going to the race on Saturday. Coming home, hey kids, bye, going to the shop and then coming down here on Monday and we were testing And that was the part that like hurt. But when I was sitting on that hay bale in Houston, I was like, you got to make a choice. Like you either die here. Like, I mean, not literally, but literally.
Yeah.
Or you got to tell these guys, because it was going to get to a point to where I was going to shut down. And I'm not going to go out here and like try to race. And I tried doing that actually at Houston. I think I was like at, 13th in practice and all that. And then K-Dub came on the heat race. And, long story short, we know where that ended up at. So I knew I couldn't do that. And it ended up like I'm battling like in 10th and then I'm going down. And the frustrating part was like, I don't even know how I did it. So, and then I told Patty, and I was like, hey, like, it's the last time we're on this bike. And you're like,
That's right. Patty was.
Yeah, he told us, and I'm like, let's see.
Yeah.
And I'd go in there and talk to you. You're in your motorhome. And you're like, yeah. And I'm like,
you know that look before.
Yeah, I've seen that look.
Yeah. And then,
I thought it would fix itself when, like Monday, Tuesday when we get home. I'm like,
sometimes it does. Yeah. I think honestly,
But-
like I said, I think it's the build up
Yeah.
all the years before. And you did already come into it not wanting to ride that bike. We learned as a team to never talk someone into it again.
yeah.
Because if they don't want to come there, they don't like the bike or something, we can't talk them into it. 'Cause
Yeah, it's like
we kind of did. Like, we wanted you to do it so bad. Like, we did whatever it took.
Yeah,
So you tell us, hey, come down and bring that bike down here, and we'd drive down here and bring it.
Yeah.
And, all right, if you do this next time.
you can't help but wonder to think, what if it would have been Suzuki? What?
I mean, I think in hindsight, like, I mean, what was supposed to happen, it was supposed to happen. And, it's one thing I don't regret. It's actually something that, like, I kind of find yourself as a person, like, because I even had to find myself in, like, dude, how much you really like racing, because, like, the opportunity and the contract was there. I mean, I had my money and, like, I had a career after that, so I could have easily been like, all right, like, let me
That's
mail
the
this
biggest
in.
thing for me, what you walked away.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
people,
you could have milked it.
Yeah, and people, again, I'd probably still been up there. I'd have been the first Bubba Wallace,
Yeah.
I mean, like, up there. And then when I went, Corey brought me up to a test and that little NASCAR thing, and I freaking loved that. So there was a lot of incentive, and then the people I was with, like, I enjoyed, like, that part, so it was not just money I walked away. It was a lot, and then the whole fan backlash and all that. But at that time, like, I was still wanting to, like, win. And, and like you said, like, the hardest part was, it's like being in a relationship, you do something, you cheat, whatnots, and, like, they can say they forgive you, but if they truly forgive you, that's the real thing. Because otherwise, as soon as you do something that's a little shady, it's it comes back up. And then, coming back in this situation, not really wanting to ride Yamaha, and then having history, it was like I snapped back into that. Like, dude, this is the same thing I was going through back then, just on a skinnier version with some nice people, new people, but I can't do this. So it was tough. It was tough. And, for me, like, it was, my whole career, like, if I don't know what to say, I don't say anything. And so I didn't really know what else to say. Like, I'm like, guys, like, I can't do it. And so it was tough for everybody, but I'm glad. Corey's, when I've spoken to him, he's been cool. I mean, I think we all realize at this point, you get over it. And then, same thing for JBone. And, we all wanted to make the thing happen. But, hindsight, we were in a tough situation. So.
Yeah, and for me, just for the record, I was never mad at you for leaving. I was more hurt when you left, how it got after you left.
Yeah.
Only that, like it was going good, and he told me he wanted out, so I worked on it. Everything was great. And then your lawyer's gnarly, and then he made it. Yeah, he made it gnarly at the end, and then so then that's when I'm like, this is not cool.
Yeah.
But other than that, everything great. I was happy when I did see you at Redbud.
Yeah.
I didn't like not talking to you, honestly, because we do have a lot of history together. So
yeah, I mean,
it's cool to be here right now talking about it all.
Yeah, Mark is like, I mean, I remember the whole police situation. Like, I mean, when I went through all that, like, he's definitely not the lawyer. He's the lawyer you want, because he tells you the truth, but he's not the one that you're like, like, it might be okay, because he's like, nah, you did wrong. Like, you got the lights on there. If you go to trial, you're gonna go to jail. Like, on that, I'm like, all right, like, on there. So I could see why it got like that. And I remember being at Hangtown. You remember this? Like, we were sitting in the bus, and we got a cease and desist or whatever from Yamaha, basically saying like, if you go out there and ride, we're
yeah.
gonna sue you. Like this is at Hangtown. I don't even know if
Where-
you even
where
knew
was
that.
that?
This is at Hangtown.
When you left our team, when you're
yeah,
on Suzuki?
this is the first race at Suzuki. Like I already went through the testing. Like I was at Hangtown.
That makes no sense.
Well, that's
'Cause the
why I think
contract was with us.
Yeah, it was from Yamaha, and it was
That's crazy.
like basically saying that you can't ride this motorcycle on there. We're like I'm here, like I'm here.
Oh, I know what made you mad. Everything was cool, and then I went to Seattle Supercross, and you weren't coming because we already knew we were working to get out of the deal. And Moto Concepts had number 7 on their bike in their pits on a Honda.
I do remember that.
And I went up to Tony and I'm like, dude, that's not cool. You're trying to get attention.
Yeah.
He's not coming here to ride that bike, and he's not riding for your team during Supercross. I said, he might do it outdoor. I'm not saying, but I know for a fact he's not riding for you until outdoors. And he goes, and I go, you're a Supercross only team, so he's not riding for you this year. And he's like, how do you know? I said, I know.
Yeah.
And I said, you're just trying to get attention. He goes, isn't that what this is all about? And I'm like, yeah, but not like that. You're like, something bad has happened to us and you're trying to make something good out of it for you. I said, that's just not cool. We kind of got into it. And then
I remember that.
I was kind of pissed because I knew that James wasn't coming back to race.
I don't even really remember that.
You probably barely talked to him, but what
Yeah,
I
I
did is
No.
I did something that made you mad. I told a magazine, which Roger told me I'd say stuff too much, which I've heard it more than just him.
That's
but
why I wanted him to come
I just
down.
say the truth. So somebody asked me something like if you were coming to the race or something, and I said he's not coming unless he's racing, which is what a comment that you would have always said to me. Like you don't, because you never went to a race just to sign autographs. I don't
Yeah.
think that's happened.
Ever.
I think maybe it happened at Redbud because you went to that race and you weren't racing. But before that, it was only I am only going if I'm signing autographs and I'm racing. I am not doing it. Just do that. So I said that comment, and that's what you got mad at me for. We're telling the truth because I said that, and you said that I shouldn't have said that. So like David, we had to write this whole letter to apologize, saying that I was wrong.
I think
I'd have to pull
Dude,
that
like,
letter
yeah,
up.
you got to pull it up.
you might have been looking. He might have
I need
been
to pull
searching
this
for
letter
something.
up. I need to have
Yeah.
this letter pull up because that's
And
what
I
your lawyer.
text you?
No,
Like-
you weren't involved. It was your lawyer.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like
And he got all gnarly on me, and I'm like, all I did was say the truth. How did I get in trouble for saying the truth? That's usually my thing.
yeah,
Which I'm not saying I always should say everything I say, but
No, I mean, honestly, I don't know why I would even get mad at that. I think probably because there was some backlash with Yamaha, and I don't even know if you guys were
That's the
really
part I
into
don't know.
that. Yeah,
I never said anything.
And I know Mark, he probably was using that to like leverage Yamaha, like on there. Well, I mean,
Could've been.
okay, they're up here discriminating his name because that was one of the things when I said I was not racing because of Yamaha. That's when they got upset, and then I think Mark was probably using that because I mean, I don't really care. Like that was the truth. And even with the, Moto Concept thing, I remember, I mean, he called me like right afterwards and I'm like, you don't like in my head, I'm like, if they can't fix it, there ain't no way in hell like y'all fixing this thing. And, but he was always like, you can ride whatever bike you want to ride. Like on there, we blah, 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 and all this stuff. So it wasn't that like, I personally wasn't mad. I can't even think of a reason why I was on that. I can think of why Mark would want to, and I was probably use that for Yamaha because there was some other stuff that was going on in the scene. And that kind of bummed me out with those guys because I kept thinking in my head, I'm like, why would they want me to race? Like I'm telling them I can't win. Like it's you're going to pay me all this money. And I'm like, dude, I cannot do it. And I'm like, why would they even want me to do it? So, I didn't understand.
but even
that
now,
part.
like people would be happy if you got 3rd or 5th.
I mean,
you don't
shit,
like it.
I would be happy right now.
But,
yeah.
But like that's the hard part is for you're used to winning all the time. So if you weren't winning, you felt like you weren't doing what you should be doing.
Yeah.
And for
Yeah. Well,
really-
it was just the way I was wired. I mean,
Yeah.
that was the way I was raised. Going back in the day, I think I can probably count on one hand how many amateur races I ever lost. And then going into pro, how my dad was like, and we were there to win. So I think
he gave me a trophy once because you got 2nd at
Oh
San
yeah,
Diego.
dude!
He's mad.
I
He goes,
remember
this is your trophy.
Yeah, I
I'm like, what do
remember
you mean?
as an amateur, dude, he kicked one. He's like, "Leave that trophy there, Junior."
Yeah.
I'm like, but my bike broke. Like it wasn't even my fault, and but that was just kind of how I was, raised. So
Yeah, I
It was
agree.
good.
Just riding around is not for you. I get that.
No.
But like for even for us, like that year was the year that Villapoto blew his knee out. So you can always go, like you were talking about earlier, this like wonder what if. Because
Yeah.
if the first race you didn't fall over because you were third, no problem, easy.
Where at
Anaheim won when you were on our team.
yeah, well,
You would have been no problem. You just fell over weird on some tabletop. Like all these crashes were typically not like you were almost crashing the whole time. You'd be like fine, and then everything would just at once, like
Yeah.
out of nowhere. It was weird.
yeah, Anaheim, I crashed. I ended up getting sixth that race.
But it would have been an easy podium if it wasn't for the crash.
From outside looking out, struggling. I was
Yeah.
struggling. But you know what it was?
For you were struggling.
Well, it wasn't
But-
that. It wasn't that I was struggling. It was the fact that, like what you said, I couldn't, I didn't know when something was gonna happen, and that's where, like at Houston, it
just
was the
gonna say.
fact that I'm like, I swear I hit this jump the same
time.
way, and the thing ballooned. But
Yeah.
I know why I struggled at Anaheim, because we were Pirelli had those tires when they shut down the factory, created all these tires, and that tire particularly, it was good, but it was like wide, and it felt like train tracks. So when normally Anaheim's kind of hard and slippery, but we got there, it was like wet and it had ruts
Yeah, it
on
was
it.
different,
So we kind of struggled doing practice, and we threw on the Dunlop.
We had a
for the
Bridgestone
second
on the
practice.
front too.
Yeah, like it was.
We
it was
we
different.
tried everything.
Yeah, and then it became a big deal. So we ended up racing with Pirelli that night. And I just remember coming in that rut, and the thing, if I didn't stay leaned over, it would stand me up, and it would shoot wherever I was going. And then so I just jumped in the hay bales. It was the thing was stuck on train track. So that's why I struggled that race. And it was you just had some stupid falls, and then so you had that part. And then Pirelli, they actually got to a point where the tire got pretty good. They were trying their best, but you can only build a new compound structure, new tire so quickly in December.
I mean, they were sending tons.
They did.
Yeah, they would do it weekly.
Yeah.
They would do it in a few days.
Dude,
they were unbelievable on that part.
Yeah.
They'd fly them over and
Where the factory was in Brazil. you
Brazil.
said?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this: I've never had a team with JGR that ever worked, not even as close as you guys did. I mean, it was past from Pirelli, basically shutting down the factory, to what you guys are doing. That's why I think even if leaving Kawasaki or even leaving the L&M, it wouldn't have been that hard, because we all tried, and there's only a certain amount. It's a factory team. If Japan doesn't do it, you can only do so much. But these guys are really doing way more than they had to. So that was the hardest part, because you're not walking away from just a bike, you're walking away from people and
Who are willing to do whatever.
they're willing to do everything. And I'm again, I was to the point where I actually felt like I was doing something noble, in the sense of all right, guys, I know it sucks, but I can't do it. So you can work all you want, but I don't feel like I can win on this. And now it's getting to a point where I feel like it's dangerous to me. And so if that's the case, then I'm going to shut down. And knowing myself, I can never do that. I'm still a racer. So if I go out on that track, I'm going to end up I just sitting on this hay bale again. And that's not fair to anybody, because it ruins Yamaha, because we went from winning and then all I do is crash. And these guys are still going to continue to work all week long. Coy's spending all this money and on the race team and doing all this stuff. And I know it's pointless at that point. So at some point it was going to come to a head where it was just going to end badly, for everybody. And, so I was like, dude, I got to walk away from all this money. I don't care, but I can't win. And so, you guys actually took it differently than I thought you would, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually thought they would somewhat understand, but, thinking about it now, I didn't consider the fact that we were still in the first year. And I think Coy,
Coy took it good, actually. He wasn't mad about it.
yeah, no,
Because the way we could accept it is he was paying his own money, so he was going in the hole. Honestly,
I don't think he cared.
he was
though.
going to lose. He didn't. He was willing to. He wanted to win that bad,
Yeah.
and he liked it.
Yeah.
And I think the money didn't matter to him at that time. And I think even though we tried it and we failed, it did
We didn't
step us
fail.
up.
Yeah,
it
we never
stepped us
failed.
up that we want that. And it made us all learn a lot as a team because we tried stuff. We tried so much stuff, like stuff that we think there's no way this is going to work. But we got to try it anyway because James had this idea.
Yeah.
Like, you remember we tried these heavy axles.
I was trying to keep that bike on the ground.
Yeah,
I was trying to figure out.
And it wasn't terrible. Like, it's the opposite of what anyone would do. But we're like, hey, we made stuff you never tried. Like, we tried triple clamps we sent down. Linkages.
Yeah, I was trying to get everything to get weight on both ends because that's what that Yamaha was. They put everything in the middle. So if you start thinking about it, putting a heavy axle on the front back, like all I'm doing is spreading that weight back.
We did.
Oh, we tried everything.
And then we did, actually that worked pretty good. And then we tried moose in the back, which deadened the feel. That helped a lot.
Yeah.
How'd you like riding with that?
I mean,
everything was actually good.
Yeah, everything was a Band-Aid. But I will tell you one thing. If it wasn't for the fact that I already like basically committed to where I was like, I've shut my mind off. I can't race. There was one thing that actually worked. And if we would have figured this out before I went to Houston, like maybe things would have been different. It was the steering stabilizer. It was the stabilizer. That was the one thing that I was like, all right, this thing can help. Because
having it or not having it?
Having it on there, we ended up putting, I think we were trying to do it.
It was a Honda one.
Yeah, it was a Honda one. And
I think we weren't allowed to do it at first. Yamaha wouldn't let us do it, but we ended up doing it anyway.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, we just did it. Like, I was like convinced him somehow. I'm like, just put it on. Let me just try.
But you didn't have it on in Houston.
No, I think we just got it, like, or whatever, because we were still at that point, like, I'm like, hey, I'm not racing. I can't do this anymore. But I think we just got an outdoor bike or something. And I remember riding the Yamaha one more time before I actually was like done. And this was after Houston. I was like, I'm not racing anymore. Went through all the stuff. And the bike was down here and it had a stabilizer, or maybe Dave put it on or whatever. But I rode with it. And I was like, dude, all right, maybe. But at that time, it was, I already like committed, told them, and I don't even know if I really even told you guys about that. Yeah, I think so. I think it was Dave that put it on. We were already committed to rides. I was already done, and I'm like, all right, like, well, maybe we can do the Suzuki, but let's put the stabilizer on. We have it, and I rode with it on the outdoors, and I was like, all right, but yeah, it was already past that point. So yeah, I forgot about it. You learn stuff new all the time. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
But yeah, again, like Coy he wanted to win. And I think like, just being from his background with Coach Gibbs and, just knowing the whole football and just, if you're able to do it and you decide not to, it's somewhat quitting, And so I think probably the same way, we probably had the same mindset on certain things. Like, look, as many times I raced hurt, I should have been there like when I hurt my foot, when Preston hit me, when Reed took me off the track. I shouldn't have been racing up there in Vancouver. My foot was huge. But I'm like, well, I can somewhat ride. I can't walk, but I can ride. And it was just always about like fighting. So I think part of like his frustration and probably what bummed him out is he probably saw it a little bit as quitting, just because, we kept trying stuff, and it was just tough. So it was, now looking at it again, I think we all understand. But yeah, I think it was tough. And everybody shut down for different reasons. And then, it's like anything, like, well, if you don't call me, I won't call you. And then that just kind of continued to happen. But I think the one thing also that got to me was Coach Gibbs. It was a weird situation. Like, as much respect as I had for him, I still have for him, excuse me. I think he was always like, what do you say?
Recruit. Yeah, he definitely is a recruiter. Like, he wanted us, like, if it wasn't Coy's team and it was his team, we would have been spending a lot of money buying people stuff to try to get him to come to the team. Like, he loves that part of it because I think it reminds him of football.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But he's all about it. Yeah, like flying down.
Yeah.
If it was up to him, we would have bought you the car you want. We would have did everything the way you want, and he would have made it happen.
Wait, what car? Yeah. Well, I think that was the thing. Like, so when I was when we were recruiting standpoint, like, even when I signed, he took me down to the golf course.
His plane.
Yeah, his plane and stuff. And we were talking like every day, like, and he was always, inspirational, just kind of like, just a good person. And I remember like calling him and telling him, because I wanted to call him and say, hey, like, you know, I appreciate everything. And like, he never called me back. And I'm like, dude, we went from like family, like really quick. And then like, I'm like, it just got clipped. And I don't think I even talked to him like since then. And so that was another thing that kind of just reminded me of somewhat the industry a little bit, like how you know, just how things were. So it was tough. And so that bummed me out. But again, it wasn't what anybody was doing. And I think just at the end of the day, everybody was just disappointed that we couldn't make it work. And, you know, we wanted to try, but
yeah. That's what it was. It definitely didn't end how we all thought it would, but
no,
we gave it a try. I remember our guys, we'd leave at midnight to drive down here.
Dude,
get here by 8 a.m, test all day, and then drive home. And I did the driving both ways because they would complain. So I didn't want to have those guys complain that they had to drive at night. So
and this was Sunday.
If we didn't do it that way, it was 3 days of testing, but we could pack that into one day and still be home a little bit. That was the idea.
Yeah, and you had to build bikes.
Yeah,
you had to see the kids, like, and all that. Oh, by the way, we just flew from California yesterday. We just raced last night. We were back here, but yeah, it was.
We definitely put a good try for sure.
Yeah.
We did everything we could, and it didn't really work.
Yeah,
and Pirelli did too. They were awesome to deal with.
There wasn't nobody. I mean, everybody did. I mean, somewhat Yamaha even like
not as much.
Yeah,
they were a little bit not as cool. But if they would have been, if we had a better relationship with them, I think it could have been.
Well, we were basically saying their bikes was fat. You know, you know, cutting in there, and we were putting like
because they didn't want us to do that either. Like that was
nah.
We're basically taking a bike that they think is ready and tearing it all apart and telling them it's not good enough. So I get where they're at too.
Yeah,
it's racing's tough. Like it's hard to step back when you're in that mode, because just like now you see these riders when you're doing these rewind shows and you're talking about riders, setups, teams, and drama. Like they're only focused on them.
Yeah.
And when you sit back now on this side and you went through all that, it's totally different.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, I went through that stuff. I can help you, but they're still going to go through it because they think it's only them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
you need to see it not work to know.
Yeah. You have to go through all of it, and you have to make the bad choices and the good choices to get where you are. And I think one of the guys that I deal with a little bit at work, he always says there's no bad decision or bad choice or wrong decision. Everything makes you who you are today.
Yeah.
So everything you did, everything I did, you did, it's all who we are. So it helped mold us into the person we are.
Yeah, that's why when you said like we failed, I'm like, no, we didn't fail. Like it just it opened up doors. It just wakes you up like to see stuff. And yeah, like being where I'm at now, I'm like, if I could only think this way when I raced, you know, it would have been a lot different. But, you know, JGR, like it actually helped me going through the Suzuki, because even when I got on that, like I won in the beginning, but then we struggled like on there. It came out that air fork, and then like we struggled, but it reminded me of like it created patience, and like I was able to deal with the process, because that's what we did here. Like I mean, even from the beginning at JGR, like it's like the bike did get better. It was just so far from like where it needed to be to compete. And the Kawasaki was good that year. And then we're looking at Dungey, switch over to KTM. They just created a whole new motorcycle. And so we had to improve a lot just to get to a point to where like, I'm like, I think we can compete for a title, because it wasn't about, I mean, it was winning races, but it was about being consistent, like to be there. So we did improve from January to like when I like stopped. But when I got on Suzuki's, like it allowed me to like enjoy testing and enjoy like the little processes to get to where I got to in 14. Like I just got better and better throughout 13, and then got to 14 where we were like, dude, no, I can hear now. And then 15, if it wasn't for that suspension, like I know I would have won that championship. I was riding the best I would have in years. But it was all because of like, you know, JGR, and like really just being able to like enjoy that process. And I will say that like it did create me enjoying the testing and trying to get better on that side instead of worrying about just the results. So there's always positives on anything. And like you said with other riders, like, yeah, the ones that really appreciate like some of the recap stuff are the ones that got kids a little bit older, You know, like those are the ones that like kind of see like where, you know, like hindsight in life, you know, what's important, how to get there. And it's cool. But in 2015, or excuse me, 2001, 2002, there was no patience on me. Like when I got in that 125 class, it was win today. You know, Rick Ash thought like I wasn't ready because I used to crash all the time and whoops. And
well, you'd come out and come do a test, and you couldn't even do the whole test, and you'd go home, and then we wouldn't even know when he's coming back.
I remember I got trigger finger. That's when trigger finger first came,
Yeah.
dude. I was cramping in my arms, and you start like what side? Like on there, I was cramping from dying. And it's funny. I would probably consider myself like the best ever in whoops, top 3 for sure.
I still say the only one close to you is Christian Craig.
Yes, I mean he's good. I give him that. But me? No, he does. He's good.
He wouldn't
He's
have did
good.
it on a 2-stroke.
No,
It's a lot easier how he
is.
just comes in, good torque, stays on top.
Yeah. No, you're right. You know, I would say
You would do that, but you hit the turn wide open and got up on top. That was different. And then James, the first time he hit whoops at Anaheim, he crashed. And he just turned around, which you can't do anymore, and he just hit him again. He just hit him faster, and then he made it.
Well,
But
I
yeah,
mean,
you said you had to do it right away, or you get all scared of him.
it would freak me out. Like
Yeah.
if it was like Pops always told me, like you get knocked down on the horse, like get up and do it.
That's
right
what he
then.
would do. So he'd
And,
turn around and not even ride the rest
Yeah.
of the track and just hit him again.
Yeah,
And I remember walking the track with you, and you were scared of the triples. I'm like,
still scared of
Still
him
scared.
I'm like, that's the easiest part of the whole track.
No.
What are you worried about that for?
because that's
But
the
the
thing.
triples were harder than, like, out of the corner. I remember you doing a couple that no one else was doing.
And our bikes wasn't the fastest. Like
No.
in that
But that was your
2002.
corner speed, though. Like,
Yeah,
the bike
That's what
was
created
good,
corner
but
speed.
your corner speed was the momentum you carried is what made it look better than it was too.
yeah. No, there was a lot of things that like it was nice when I transitioned in from amateur to pro because we talked about it before, but I only rode half a year on 125s because I got hurt right after Loretta's when I was going to move up. I dislocated my shoulder, so I was out, and then I raced B class, and I think I went A class at Loretta's, right? Like I only rode 1 year, and then I went to pro, but it wasn't like I had growing pains, and I was just learning how to like race supercross because I never did that, and then being in the stadiums and then riding West Coast on dirt, I never really raced, and coming in pink gear, it was a lot of stuff. But like my riding, I didn't have to evolve on that part. Like I was fast enough, and then I was doing the scrub, I was doing things to where other guys were like imitating me. Like I just had to learn how to race and then figure that part out compared to like if I would have came in and all right, I need to find speed and need to figure out how to jump. That helped me out a lot. But I think it was just more I never lost. I think never really losing during amateur helped me like continue to win because I never saw myself ever losing. Like I never looked at those other guys as if
They
like
could beat you.
well, I was afraid of Pingree and
Mike Brown.
Tedesco, Mike Brown, like me, because those are the guys I just watched on TV, and they were Shea Bentley just won the title before over David. So of course, like I was thinking that, damn, that's who they are. That's David Pingree, that's Mike Brown. But I never thought like when I was on the track that they were better than me. And
That's because they weren't.
Yeah, no, and I found that out real quick. Anaheim.
Yeah,
but
you ran in the back of.
I ran in the back of everybody.
The whoops. Remember, he
I
was going so fast in the whoops. You ran in the back of whoever was leading. Was it Preston?
no,
Who was leading?
Gossler.
Gossler.
Yeah.
I remember it was a Honda, and you ran in the back of him, and it messed you up.
It messed me up. Yeah, he messed up, and back then the whoops were so big, like you couldn't stop.
There
in
was
that.
a rut. I think you guys were in a rut, and you couldn't get out of it.
True theory, stuck in
But
the
you
rut.
were,
No.
there you go.
Yeah. Now he messed up, and he was sketchy too. He was sketchy, but yeah, that Anaheim race really showed me that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna these guys up. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding, but truthfully, I ain't not doing that.
Yeah.
So back then, JBone, how was he as a tester?
Yeah, how was I?
He didn't, at that point, you didn't really know anything. You just wrote it.
Yeah.
And then usually it was more dealing with him coming out, get used to the dirt, the team, learning to talk like he does now. Like you didn't really talk
Yeah. I mean, I didn't talk until like 3 years ago. I wasn't really talking.
Like he was always like, I mean, if we had texting back then, that would have helped. You
Yeah.
could text from the bike.
I did
Here's what
have
I'm
like
feeling.
secret Nokias back in the day.
Secret.
Yeah, not-
Nokia.
Yeah, but it wasn't texting Nokia. I was texting my old girl. Like,
But yeah, he got better at testing for sure. But it's like anything, you have to enjoy it. Like you said, you started to enjoy it later. I think that's the hardest part is to, when you're in race mode, you just want to fix that and then get back to your program so you can race. So no one starts liking testing. So
Yeah.
you were normal, what you were thinking.
yeah.
I remember your dad, you hurt your shoulder or something at the track, and then
Remember?
he grabbed your other arm and bent it way up, and you're like, ow, ow, ow. And he's like, all right, how's the other arm? And you're like, all right, I'm good. And then
Yeah.
you never complained about
That's
the
true.
injury again because he's like, this side hurt. I'll just make this side hurt worse, and then you'll forget about that one.
And that's the truth. Like, I remember MX Compound. That was
Yeah,
like
is
the
that-
first test I think I did.
Yeah, you're with Pro Circuit. I remember
Yeah.
that because that's the one you came out and you ride up and you didn't even talk.
Yeah, it
Like
was the
you'd
first
come
time
up-
I even like
yeah,
tested with these guys.
But I get it now. Like at the
Yeah.
time, I'm like, how come this kid won't talk to me?
Was it this?
But he was young. You were 15 years old.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. You think, wait till your kids are 15. Like mine are 15 and 17, and it's crazy to
put them in that
put
situation.
them in what you had to go into. Like nowadays, the rush you can wait. Like I think 20. I mean, even 25 isn't too old now. But at that time, you felt like you had to be in there at
Yeah.
16 years old because that's when you can turn pro.
Yeah.
And it is very young. Like
Yeah.
you did really good considering all that. Like when you look at these old pictures, that's probably not how you remember it, how you look like a little kid with braces.
Yeah, I mean, and I didn't want to wear braces. Fox made me wear braces because you got to straighten your teeth out. So that's why I had them on. But it was, I mean, pink gear. It was always, I was
Yeah, the
put in a
pink gear
position
was
where
cool.
it was like,
Yeah.
being black, number one, and then like I didn't have any experience of like anything, like like.
Oh, you're a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I was a kid, and then I didn't have a lot of experience on a big bike. But
But see,
like,
I didn't realize that because
Yeah.
I just came in.
Yeah.
Well, I did watch you at like the U.S. Open and stuff on an 80.
yeah, because you guys were racing.
Yeah, so
you were
we'd see
racing
you there, and I remember watching you ride on these tough blocks. I'm like, that guy's crazy. He didn't even let off. He just pinned it right across the top.
When in
Hopper.
doubt, gas it.
That's
yeah.
what he did. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
crazy. I should have known then.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I truthfully can't. I couldn't ask for a better situation than I had like going up. And I talked about this on the podcast. Like I think my whole career, like I wouldn't have been able to be who I am if I would have went to Honda compared to like Kawasaki, just as a personality, because like you did. Like you helped a lot, and it's just that. I mean, how he is right now. Like it was just cool. Like it made it okay. Even the days that like I was confused and struggled, like it wasn't.
I'd call you every Monday and tell you that none of us are against you. We're all for you. Because he would always think that we're like all these riders get like that. Like they think the team isn't giving them their best. Like I'm like, I would tell you why do you think that?
Well, I think part of it is. Yeah, I don't.
We're saving it for Michael Byrne. That's what I always tell you. You think we're going to save all the good stuff and give it to Burner?
Everybody's
come
so
on.
they're insecure. Like
Yeah,
you're
everyone
insecure by
is.
being replaced, and
Yeah.
I think that's a part of a safety mechanism and
Mm-hmm.
riders. Like you kind of like it's gnarly as we are as athletes. Like we're very insecure. Like it's always like you can never fully be like, nah, it was just on me. Like it's the team. Like you got to have some kind of belief that now you can figure it out. It must be the team ain't helping you out. Like they're against me, and you use that stuff as motivation, and to try to almost like you turn a negative into a positive, like reverse psychology. Like, well, if they ain't gonna give it, I'm gonna do it anyway. Like whatever it is. So that's probably the reason why. Most riders and being replaced, like your teammate.
Yeah, probably is.
And normally the teammate's like always happy and everybody likes the teammate because he's just like, oh, I'll test this, I'll test that. And you're at like, nah, man, I can't. I'm focused on winning.
Yeah, the second guy always is that way because he wants to get better and earn that spot. The number one guy is when it's
And
hard.
it's never going to change.
No, it's like that forever. That's
Yeah.
what these guys don't get. We've
Yep.
seen this over and over.
Whether we're here, I just heard a story over the weekend. factory team, two GP riders. One guy's bad because he thinks the other guy's bike's
It's always
better.
like that.
So
It's
it's,
never.
it's
That's
no
not.
different
There's
there.
no way they would. Let's get the bad stuff on that guy's bike.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
No, I think I think what it is somewhat perception, because even I dealt with it. I mean, with Chisholm and L&M. I mean, even Burner, Carpenter back in the day, they were somewhat they're the test guy. I mean, you're the second guys, but like you always tested with them on there. You always threw all the new stuff. If Dean created or Rick created a new engine, he put it on their bike because he don't want it to mess up, blow up on
yours,
on me. So as a rider, like as you know, number one, you're looking at, why are they always testing with him on there? He's always getting this good stuff, even though I knew why he was doing it. Yeah. And then again, like I think knowing that the second guy always gets in a closer relationship with the engine guys because he's part of
working
like
together more.
They're working
Yeah,
together,
right.
yeah. And so you just look at it, and perception is like, well, I mean, he's giving the good stuff. He ain't giving it to me. And when in fact they're just doing something to help you, like on there to get whatever. So I think it's just the way you look at it. And you know, again, the second guy was always they loved him. He's helping them. You know, he can do bad. They still love him. They go test with him on Monday.
They're not paying him as much.
They're not paying him. But, you know, again, I think if you're looking at that, then I think then you probably wouldn't be mad at the test guy because you'd be, well, my check's better. You know, I never looked at it that way. I was just looking at, well, I mean, they're giving him something that they could give me and it helped me do my job because I'm here about winning. Like, I don't give a shit about money. And, you know, I just want to go win. So I think it's just more, just that, like, it's just he becomes a part of the crew, like the team, and all that. And so,
but it's hard to think that when you're a kid, though, right? Like
I never thought about it that way until I just talked about it right now. Yeah, so I'm like, oh shit, like, no, I won't hate Regal anymore.
But
you
the
know,
whole team, the whole crew is there for you.
But you don't. No one thinks of it like that. Like that is why all that is set up. And Kawasaki, honestly, was I was talking to Roger about that. Like, out of all the places you went, like they treated you really good, but you don't know it. Yeah. Like you have no idea. Like you got so much product from them. Like I remember you were out of budget and I built a mule for you. Do you remember that bright green one?
I still have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I built that whole thing just for you because you wanted one for you because your dad took the other ones to drive around the farm.
That green mule,
the bright one?
Yeah,
the fluorescent one. I
remember
did that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did that myself through my own budget. I didn't pay for it, but I went and got it through all my people at Kawasaki to make that happen because he was out of budget already.
Yeah. Well, I think like I actually know Kawasaki did like a lot more than they did a lot for me. You know, like, I mean, we used to get a product allowance every year of mules, and that's why we got all these ones out. But I think that was a part of like when we were doing our contract, it was actually a negotiation in there. But
not many people do that,
like,
though.
Not anymore. I don't think they do anymore. But I guess
it's a little like Joe Gibbs, like just stoking out the rider.
Well, that's why I was nervous to have him come to the team because David was at our team too, and I said, I know what he got at Kawasaki, and we can't do any of that.
Yeah.
So how's he going to be happy here? He wasn't even happy there. But
you know,
I felt like I knew you good enough, and we could work through it, and we worked through some stuff, but we couldn't work through all of it, obviously. But we're all good.
Yeah, thinking about it now, like, I mean, truthfully, the reason I went to Kawasaki, one of the main reasons was because of him, and the same thing with JGR. Like, I mean, it was you. Like,
do you remember you telling me you wanted me to act like? You remember what was his name? The crazy guy that worked on Pro Circuit.
The guy that was smoking a cigarette, pouring gas.
Yeah, you're like,
Mike Brown's
you gotta act like him. I said,
No, he was. I love that guy. Still love him.
He tried to tell me. He goes, I want you to act like that guy.
He was too cool.
I said, I have to act like
Brett, the broad guy.
Brett Meyer.
From
Myron.
South
Yeah,
Africa.
Brett Meyer. Yeah. Dude,
so awesome. I liked him too, but I'm like,
Where's
I
he
can't
at?
act like somebody I'm not. I said, if you see me clapping, it's because I mean it. I'm not clapping for the parade lap like all these idiots. Like they do. They come by the parade lap and they're clapping like they did something.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not clapping for that. You need to get out front for me to clap. If you see something good, and I was calm, and when you see me get excited, I'm really excited.
No,
I'm not fake.
I'm glad you were the way you were. Looking on the TV on there, I just saw him on there. It's insecurity. Like, we just want to be like loved. I mean, that's it. And to be honest with you, the mechanic, realize it or not, like, they're probably the most important person on the team. Like, I mean, you got your trainers and all that. Everybody does their job. Everybody has their part. But mechanic's the last person you talk to. Like, you're the last thought I have going out to the track.
Mechanic and practice bike mechanic.
Well, I mean, the practice guy mechanic for sure. Like, he's got to motivate you during the week. But you know what Bone says before I go out, like, that's my thought. If he says, dude, you suck, like, then that's what I'm on the gate. So I think having like Brett around, like seeing him, the animation, it wasn't like I want to act. It was just the fact that like hyped me up. Yeah, but you knew like I didn't need any more of that. Like, I was already
we need
hyped.
you to calm down. I remember telling you, you're like, my bike won't go down the hill like that. I'm like,
must have been
you're going down it wide open. You don't have to go down the hill wide open. No one else is.
Made to go down the hill.
You're already going down the hill 2 seconds faster, but you back it down to 1 second. We're still killing it.
Yeah,
and he wants to go wide open down the hill.
Yeah, and that's what he was really good at too. He rode, you know. So a lot of people, and I used to go riding with him, and we used to have fun like during the week. Like, I mean, we used to have back when they had the track
more.
Yeah, well, I mean, you couldn't. Like, I mean, we used to do the mini bikes. That was awesome on there.
Took Badge out, blew his knee out.
He did blow his knee out. That was my
Saddleback.
bad. My bad. Saddleback. That's what I was about to say. Like, we used to go ride there, and it was my fault. I kind of took him out a little bit, you know. But he used to get so mad on there. But I mean, all that stuff. I mean, you start thinking about it now, but it was. I mean, you were very, very important on like me becoming who I am. And I think, again, the mechanic part of things, it was like the rider and the mechanic, I think, has to be like, you know, two peas in a pod. Like, I mean, if I didn't get along with my mechanic, or I wouldn't say not get along with him, because I always had good ones, but if one didn't talk enough, it was just a motivation thing. I wanted to feel like that guy would go to war with me, like, and then we would just fight anybody. And I think he was like Bogle over here.
I did fight that one time. Do you remember that? The Chad Spamjack. Do you remember that?
I do remember.
We had to go to LCQ at San Diego. This guy, I didn't know he's like a kickboxer. He's like legitimate. So anyway, you were all mad because he took you out. And then we were riding through the tunnel, and you like wrecked into him. We both wrecked. I was on the back. And then we rode like up to the thing, and you were throwing your helmet, and I like went to the guy's pits.
Oh yeah,
and he wasn't.
Remember that.
And I like started pushing his stuff around and looking for him, and I like ripped his banner down he had up.
I remember that. Yeah.
And then
I love
this guy that
you remember this one?
I remember it now. Like, I still don't remember all the details but I do remember like him, like, because of what I did, almost creating him to get his ass whooped on there. But that was my guy. That's all I wanted. I wanted him to get knocked out. Yeah. I wanted to get knocked out.
I was gonna too.
Yeah, and like, it wasn't. Some people pretend. He wasn't. Like, he knew like he was who he was, but he was prepared to get knocked out, and that's all I cared about. That's it. So.
Yeah, and I remember one of the guys that worked at Kawasaki, this guy Lanny J, was helping that guy, and he's the one that came and talked to me calm and said, hey, this guy is a kickboxer. You don't want to fight this guy. He understands that you're mad. Like, he talked me down.
That's what was cool. Like, that. I think the guy was actually cool.
He worked at Kawasaki later, and I ended up become good friends with him after that. I didn't even know he worked there, but we became friends after that. It was funny. Let's
go to a quick commercial break real quick, and we'll come back up and catch up on everything else. This has been good. So we'll be right back.
You got it.
All right, we're back, and we were talking about, you about to get beat up or at least fighting for your rider, which that's all I cared about. It was the most important thing. What year was that actually? Now I'm bringing back, I'm showing the gray age in this area. Like,
there's too many of them.
I still don't
raced for a long time.
I'm still trying to think when I was at an LCQ.
That was the only time ever, and it was because of that guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it either had to be 06, it wasn't 2006. 2005, I didn't race. 2004, I didn't race West Coast.
It was on a 125, so maybe it was the first year then.
No,
it couldn't have been.
I bet it wasn't even San Diego, I could think, because I could tell you every heat race. I won the heat race in 2002. That was my first ever heat race win ever. In 2003, I dominated. I passed the two Suzuki guys in the whoops. 2004, I rode East Coast. 2005, I was hurt. 2006, that's when McGrath got me. 2007, I beat Reed in the heat race. It was one time we were like paired together in the heat race. 2008, you left to go to JGR. So
So where was it, JBone?
yeah,
I
so
don't know. I'm gonna have to look this up. Get my facts straight.
Yeah.
It wasn't San Diego, I guess, but I'll figure it out. We gotta get this.
Well, let me think about this because I could probably tell him where it was.
You did watch a lot. That's what I think he did really well, was he studied a lot of tape, and it made you better.
Yeah.
Like every time I came to your house, you had TVs going in there. A
Yeah.
couple of them.
Or in the back of the bus.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I
always watching
I
old
still
races.
got it. Yeah, I still watched the race. I'll probably watch the race this weekend like 4 times already on there. I've always do. I watch practice. That's why when you were talking about the you can fast forward it on the Supercross Live, I was like, maybe I didn't have that on mine, but yeah, on the heat race, I'm like curious now. I can tell you if it was a heat race. The only year I could think of would be 2000.
It would have been out of a tunnel. So I don't know if it's like a Pontiac. I just remember riding out of a tunnel because we ran into him down below.
Yeah.
In the underneath.
Sure it was an outdoor race?
Wasn't outdoors, a stadium for sure.
All right. Yeah, because, I mean, I won pretty much every heat race. And I'm going through, in 2006, I won every heat race in 2006. 2007, I won basically every heat race too. And then 2005, I only went to one LCQ, and that was at Houston when I crashed and remember I broke my rib in Dragon's Back. And it was like when we came back from injury. I won the first heat race that year at Anaheim 1, 2005, that mud race. I got hurt at Phoenix, and then I came back and won the heat race at Orlando, won the heat race at Pontiac, won the heat race Seattle. In Vegas, I crashed. I went down. I ran into on that start, I went down and hurt my thumb. So only lost that one heat race in 2005, so it wasn't that.
Let's go back to the ball.
Maybe I'm wrong.
We'll have to go back to, or the guy who
No,
works at Cowie.
I do remember him getting into it with somebody, but I almost feel like it probably was a practice.
It could have been.
It probably was a practice, and it was either had to be a practice or an outdoor national. But I do remember him about to fight somebody. I'm just going through all the years.
I don't have a memory like his. That's pretty good.
I can't believe he remembers all that stuff either.
Yeah, no, and then I know in 2003, I won all the heat races there, everything, because that was the year I raced Preston. I only lost that one race. The first round, I got a bad start, and Preston was up front, and I couldn't catch him. And that's when we were doing that on-off, that I was jumping over the tabletops right after the mechanics area, like instead of going on-off, and it slowed me down through that whole section. It was like I was going over this. I had like a step up, and it was like 3 tabletops. It was on-off, and another one. And then what you would end up doing if you went over, you went inside on the next section, and then you had to go roll and then table over single. But if you went on-off, it was like, you just kept your speed up and then did it again before the triple. And I was losing like a second there. And I would make up the time, but I could never really catch him. So that was the only race I lost that year until we got to Vegas. And then 2004, I only lost Atlanta, crashed in the first corner, ended up 4th in the heat race on the 125. That was the only one I lost there, except for when I didn't race and when I got knocked out in Indy when Hansen won.
Oh, yeah.
And then in 2002, again, it was the first one. I lost the first heat race ever. I crashed a million times. The first pro race, but I won the LCQ, and then I think I lost another heat race that year.
The guy can remember every race he's raced in the
Yeah,
last
it's
20
crazy.
years.
Yeah.
I talked to him on Friday and said, hey, make sure you go get your passport renewed. Guarantee he forgot about that.
Yeah, I did forget about that. Yeah, I mean, I guess people remember what they want to remember.
Priorities, yeah.
Yeah, on there, but. Yeah, it'd be cool. Like the one part I was actually excited for him coming down was like, just talking about these stories, because I actually like remembering like it's those things that you're like, dude, like, yeah, like, I mean, we have so many, like, the races are one thing. I'll remember all that, but it was the little things in between that those are the things that I appreciate now. It's like That's pretty cool.
Do you remember after Hanson won, we went to that club
Yep.
after, and you were going to get in a fight with somebody? Was it?
I got hit by a bottle.
Yeah, you were going to get in a fight in this bar, and we had a concussion that night. And we're like, we shouldn't be fighting anybody. We shouldn't even be in here.
I remember what I was, because we were about to fight. I ended up losing this fish that I was, man.
I think we're going to fight Hanny at the
We
end.
were going to
too.
fight Hanny.
Was
Yeah,
this
it was a
Indy?
fight. Yeah, because he
It was
was,
one of Hanny's buddies or something.
yeah,
that
of course.
started it.
We're
and
all
then-
in there. Jägermeister. That's when Jägermeister was big. That stuff was disgusting.
Hanny wins a race, and we were going to beat him up
Yeah,
after.
we're gonna beat him up because like he was like, I'm better, I was gonna win. I don't even know why. He probably didn't even say it, and we were gonna fight.
Yeah, you
And,
just felt that way. I don't think he said anything.
I think I told him.
You
and
did
then
tell
he
me
was
that,
gonna
then I
fight.
went to him. That's what it was.
Maybe that's where it came from. Like on there, it wasn't.
That's
a
what it was.
tunnel.
You
Yeah,
got me all worked up because
Yeah,
you're telling me that he was talking crap that he would have won.
and we were like gonna fight, and I was talking to
Yeah.
this chick. We all adults. I was talking to this girl, and because I heard that, of course, I went and told him. And then next thing you know, I remember like, it's like, I don't know if we was scuffling or whatnot, but I think we got kicked out
Yeah.
or something. We ended up having to leave, and I just remember seeing her in the taxi cab going bye. I was like, God damn! Now I'm really beat Hanson up. Now I'm beat him up now. But yeah, I remember that. Yeah, we didn't race that night. We went out. Michael Jordan was there
Yep.
that night.
And you probably could have raced, but I think that was the right call because you got knocked
Yeah, I
out
probably.
twice.
Yeah, I think it.
One time, it wasn't your fault. Somebody was cutting in the mechanics area, and you like clipped.
That's
their
what
back
it was.
wheel.
That's what it was. I
Wasn't
crashed
even
twice.
Your fault.
Yeah, I crashed twice, and I think I might have hit my head or something. But then I got hit. That was the one. The mechanics. Maybe that's where the guy was.
I don't know.
Yeah, I
don't
think that's
remember.
probably what it was because it had to be like a practice or something while
Could
we
have
were
been.
fighting. And that's probably what we were about to fight somebody in. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, and then I got knocked out there in Indy, and when I was on the Gibbs. Yeah, that's when
Oh,
I
yeah,
missed
you're right.
Toronto.
Yeah.
and
That's right.
that's the one that like, like I don't know how much you know about that one, but remember I did the concussion test and I passed it. I don't remember taking it. I was like,
Well,
out.
I called Feld down. So I called all the Feld guys because you did hit your head. And I'm like, hey, if he wants to race, we got to figure this out because I know they're not going to let him race. And then you passed. And I'm like, how the heck did he pass this concussion
Yeah.
test? He don't even know his name.
yeah.
But
And
that test is, it's tricky. I think it's different parts of your brain. So obviously you're all right on the remembering things, but except for your name.
well, it wasn't that. I think I was so like knocked out that like, like if you just talk, I was just repeating what he was saying. And so I didn't have no other thoughts besides like what he was just saying. And I remember my dad telling me afterwards, and this is kind of where it funneled into like when I was like, I got to think about myself because like I was under the impression that you guys wanted me to race. And my dad was like, he's not racing. Like he's not there on there. And I think it wasn't you wanted me to race because obviously you knew. I think you were saying that. Well, he passed the test, so if he wants to, he can.
Yeah.
It's just up to him. And my dad took it as like, you guys wanted me to do it, knowing that
No,
I
we
was
were happy
concussed.
that you chose that.
Yeah.
I just was expecting you and your dad wanting to race.
Yeah.
And then you not being able to because Feld or, whoever's doing the concussion
Yeah.
test wouldn't let you. And I'm like, so I had them there and I'm like, oh, no, we're good. Everyone agreed he has a concussion, so we don't need help.
Yeah. And so it's funny how that transpire, like just, I guess the perception on that, because that was a part of the reason, like it led into like when Houston happened, because probably my dad, I mean, he wouldn't have let me race because I was bad. Like that's probably one of the ones that like, I'm like, that was a bad knockout like on there. And I remember waking up in my motorhome. Like that's when the first thing that came back to me was like in my motorhome. And that was after I did all the tests. I remember watching the video on, I think Feld sent me a video, like carting off on the mule, doing the test and all that. I don't remember.
Was
none.
it a bike hit you?
Yeah, I
Wyndham's-
fell.
was it
Yeah,
Wyndham's bike hit you
got
or
caught up
something?
in the first corner, and then not suffering, but swing arm hit me in the
arm,
head.
That's what it was, yeah.
Knocked me out, and then we get there, and I just woke up in my motorhome like, all right, where am I at? And then my dad, he knew, like he was like, dude, like he's been crashing all year, like and yeah, I'm not gonna let him go out there and race concussed. Like he can't even like stay up like when he's like focused. So
Yeah.
it was it was tough. And then I missed Toronto. That was the next race. And then Houston was after that. So it was a lot of things. Like I crashed again and I came back because I actually broke my hand So I came back and I wasn't feeling like that good. And I felt like I came back to be there like for the team and all that. And then then that thing, it happened again. So everything, I'm like, dude, I cannot like continue doing this. Like, it's just so much. And then like, I'm like, you gotta look out for yourself because like you're going to get hurt on there. And then, so that was all kind of leading up to that, like all those little things. But again,
You remember when I pushed you to the line at Southwick?
Yeah.
You couldn't even walk.
Yeah.
And I pushed the bike with him on it
2006.
all the way up. And he was leading the race and his bike blew
up. Yeah. Last lap.
Last lap. I just watched smoke and you go like this and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
And the part like as a mechanic and when you're like the person, like we were friends, like it's the worst thing ever to see a bike smoking, blowing up and him getting ready to wreck. Like it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's like what you fear
like,
all the time.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, again, I think that's the part like that hurt the worst, the whole JGR. It was just relationships that I got with those. I mean, and it wasn't even like I knew these guys from the beginning, you know, even with Dean and obviously Jeremy. And then David was my agent. So like, you know, we got on a personal level, but all those guys. So leaving, it was emotional, but yeah, there was never one time, I remember, there was never one time that it was like I thought it was you, like I knew you cared. Like, and the race he's talking about was after I got knocked out, leading the race in
that was on the Kawasaki
at Hangtown. I'm not Hangtown, but excuse me, High Point.
Yeah,
and then I messed up, like my knee concussed. Came back the next weekend to race Southwick, and then I got second the first moto, battling Ricky. Or no, I won the first moto. Actually, I won the first moto. I think I was battling and he fell. And I won the first moto, and then he was winning the second moto, and I was just pumped because I just lost 50 points the week before. And I was going to come out of that race tie, and I was hurt. So I was like, cool. And then that thing blew up in the same place I ended up crashing in 2013 on the Suzuki. It blew up. And I remember like getting folded up and like, you know, laying there. And I saw that bike smoking. I was like, thank God. Because I was like, did I just endo? I thought I just did something like again. And I saw it smoking. And then we missed Butts Creek. But yeah, and that thing blew a hole in the side.
Yeah, that was the worst one ever.
It was big. But one of the toughest times with me and him, emotionally for me, was when you went to JGR.
Yeah,
I know.
I felt bad.
Yeah.
I remember telling you in the motorhome at
At
Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe you. I'm like, there's no way he's going.
And like the hard part, like it never was you or Kawasaki. Like it really was the opportunity for me.
But you didn't know what you were getting into. Really, you didn't know if it was going to work. I give
No,
you
you
credit for
never
even
know.
doing
But
it.
honestly,
It's
really
how I felt
me
then.
looking at it, the only reason that I did it is I didn't like it who I was working with at the time. And
Yeah.
that's who I was with
Mike
all
Fisher?
the time.
Yeah.
Well, he was part of it. But
Yeah, I know
Williamson,
the other guys
The two
too.
Mikes.
Yeah.
The two Mikes were like buddies, and they were like against me.
They were.
And it was not fun. And I'm like, that's who I'm in the rental car with. I don't even talk to him because, like I said, I don't fake it. So if
Yeah.
you don't like me and I don't like you, I'm not talking to you.
And you just became a dad. I remember you just had your kid, like right around then, or I guess you had your kid in 2004 because you missed Binghamton. Yeah,
and you
and
won
Lawrence.
that.
Yeah, Randy
I built,
Lawrence.
I built the bike. I did everything.
Yeah.
Sent it there, and I remember him asking me for a bonus. So I'm like, what?
Who
I
ran
did everything. All you did was go to the race.
RL.
You did
Oh,
help.
really?
Yeah, Randy did that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the test guy then. He did a good job at that. But
Yeah. Now he's cool. It wasn't. I understood why you were doing that. I wasn't even like upset why
No, you
you were
took it
doing
good, yeah.
But I just like, damn, like, dude, we just won the Supercross title. Like, I think we can win this outdoor title. And like, yeah, I knew about the two mics and like it got to him because he was always truthful with me. Like, I mean, even the stuff like that, like he wouldn't say, like he would say it in a way I knew, like whether it was like trying to get something with the bike. So he came in and I remember like, it was almost like you were tearing up. Like,
Yeah,
I'm like,
I
dude, we should
was.
be
I remember
stoked.
it, yeah.
Like, we just won this title. Like, what's going on? Like, and then he's like, hey, I just want to let you know. And I'm like, this didn't happen tonight. Like, you've known this for a while.
since Easter.
Yeah. And I was like, probably like a little bit bummed on that. I'm like, man, we're so close. Like, you could have told me,
I
but
didn't tell Padge either. I didn't
no,
tell
for sure. It was tough.
my
But
own brother didn't know.
Yeah.
Nobody knew.
But what he's saying right there is how it felt when I left Gibbs.
Yeah.
It was the same thing. Like it's not you guys. Like it's not that. It's just like I can't do it. For him, it was a better opportunity, and it was the right one on there. And I think like at Kawasaki at that time, like there was just so much, like just as much as the riders were battling, like it was the mechanics and that's the one thing that did suck about like certain teams in the industry. Like you had like groups even on like, okay, you expect me and Chad Reed, like our guys, you're on that side or this side, but you don't really expect the team to be that way.
Yeah.
And it was, and it became like, I remember like even trying to get stuff, like him having to build his bike in between the races, and Big B, he wouldn't help.
Yeah, he wouldn't help me.
Yeah,
Was
like
that
on
when-
there. And
Was that when Bruce left?
yeah,
Yeah.
it was Fisher.
And then
Well, when Bruce was there, it was really good.
he kind of stepped away and had a role at Monster, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he might have went upstairs, didn't he?
Well, he did do that first. He was like overseeing all of racing. Then he went to Monster after that. And Mark Johnson, he was in there a little bit.
Yeah, Mark was in there, and yeah, I mean, I don't know how he was to work for us like on the team, but he
He was okay. He was kind of
different.
like, he was pretty full of himself. But
Yeah.
he was. I mean, he was good at it.
He's kind of like, I would say with him, he would be like the coach that like a Phil Jackson coming back and like coaching, like he kind of built up like it's Mark Johnson, then he went to IndyCar, and then so when he came back, it was like we should be grateful that he's back. And I mean, I stayed at his house for a month there, so I got to know him, and I've known him for a while, even when I think he worked at Team Green back in the day, but yeah, he was on a little arrogant a little bit because he just came from IndyCar, so it was like a step down to him. So like,
Yeah, he
really
always
can't
talked
tell.
bad on motocross, and I'm like, why are you here then? If you don't like it, you're IndyCar, because IndyCars would always be on. But I mean, he had a lot of knowledge. He was good, but he wasn't. I would say what Bruce was good at, and the other guys were not, was making the team work together.
Bruce is like Eddie.
Yeah,
Bruce was like Eddie, like a good, like
Mellow,
Yeah.
not ego, all about the team. That's what he did well,
Yeah.
and that's what I tried to learn from what Bruce did well. And I wish our team had more success when I was at JGR, because plenty of success at Kawasaki. Like, and that was the other thing when I was quitting. It wasn't you that I was quitting on. I was like, we're going 1-2 with Ferry.
Yeah.
And we're miserable.
Yeah.
Like everyone's hating each other. Williamson wants, like, I think he's jealous of, he thinks I make a ton of bonus money and I would buy something and he would buy something. It's this dumb little game that I'm like, I don't even watch you. I don't have anything to do with you. I got him the job even.
Yeah. I
I
remember.
just felt like, why is it like that?
Yeah. I remember even having to like give those guys bonus money because like
You did it. It was cool. Like not many people do that. And you gave the whole team.
The whole team. Yeah.
Not just
Knowing that. And it was like, well, it was unfair. And I just kind of looked at it as like, well, I mean, we all should be in this thing together, even knowing that like all this stuff was happening. But yeah, it was. And it was weird because I kind of blamed Mike for a little bit, like for a while of like him leaving. And then like right after that, Mike ended up being my mechanic for outdoors. Like it's funny how
that was the plan for him. That's
what
thing.
it was. And then, but then it was kind of like a little bit like Larry Brooks. Like if you worked against him, like it like sucked. Then,
But if you
but
were
if
on
you
his
want
side-
him, he was like super cool. And
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy it. Like I did feel like same thing with you. Like I felt like he was with me when I went to the gate. But then like when I left there, I was trying to get him to come over to L&M, and we just couldn't work out the contract details. And then it was like he worked for Villapoto, and it was like the ferry thing again. Like you don't even know me anymore and all that. And that was just kind of how the industry is. But all those same people I speak to now, it's like completely different. Like you can just talk about it, and I think everybody's in a place. But that's the one thing that is tough about this industry is like people don't have an issue with like climbing on each other and like getting to the top, and don't really care how they do it. And I think for me, like where I'm at, like I mean, not to say I probably did. I wouldn't say I never did anything maliciously to anybody. Like I wouldn't try to like hurt somebody to get up to the top. But I mean, I'm sure I probably was maybe not the best person. Like maybe just quiet or I don't know, rude or whatnot, because it made me feel good to be able to go on the track. But like as far as trying to hurt somebody to take them out to like try to win a race and just as a person. Like I never was like that. So that part got to me. Like it was every team I left on, like it was always like the way they treated me right afterwards. Like that got to me. And like I think that was a part of the Gibbs thing. Like that bummed me out. And you know, my personality and me shutting down also, like I'm probably with that, you know, and egging that on, like making these guys. But it was the fact that, like, you know, coach wouldn't call me back. I'm like, but like, I was dying for you guys. Like, I mean, I'm, you know, working as hard, and you know, it was just all because we all wanted the same thing. But it was just another thing in the industry that I'm like, whatever. And it just made me pull back to myself even more. Right. And then so yeah, it was tough. But now I don't give a shit. Like, you don't like me, whatever. It's like I get along with everybody now. Me and Reed, we good friends. Talk to him all the time. Ricky,
I had that guy on my team.
Now,
like the guy that we hated is now on my team. Yeah. But even Ellie and I talked about that. Like, I mean, I had your brother on the team.
Yeah.
Dealt with your dad. Like I don't hold grudges anyway.
Yeah, I remember. I'm sure when he was on there, you're like, here we go again. Yeah, here we go. I remember
he was different. Your dad, he enjoys it more now.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think realization, like for a while,
you're the first one doing it, and the pressure of it all, and I don't know. You and your brother's personalities are different anyway.
We grew up
different. You're more. I would say more now, like maybe how your brother was.
Yeah,
more personable. But back then, like you were serious. Like it really was everything was about winning, like you said.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's the way we grew up. Like Malcolm had a choice to race. I didn't. I mean, and
he was going to be a fisherman.
Yeah, I mean, he crashed. He didn't want to ride, and my dad would get so mad at him. But then he was just like, you know, whatever. Like I got like junior. So, you know, my personality. I mean, kids grow up like their parents. Like, you know, treat them like you see a kid up here doing this and whatnot. So you just look at the parents. Like, sure, they're pretty close to them. I mean, you got some exceptions. So my dad was just like the way he grew up, you know, and the way things were. Like when I raced, it was just a continuation of that. And then so he molded me into the person I am, and I'm thankful for it, to be honest with you, because I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for him. So, but Malcolm was like the opposite, like on there. And I think my dad wanted to, like my childhood and not having one and being at the races and stuff, I think he let Malcolm do that, and that's where the fishing and things came from. But the racing and all that, like as I continue to win, I think that sometimes the people around you, like they get egos too, and not to say this in a negative way, but you know, I remember my dad, like when I lost, it was like he was out there racing, he lost on there. It wasn't like, damn, my son lost. It was like and as much as that sucked sometimes, I was also grateful for that, because I always, even when things went, you know, haywire and you start thinking, well, this and that, you always knew they were with you, because like just the way they're emotionally attached to you. Like they go up and down on the roller coasters too, and sometimes it was, you know, going down, it sucked on there, but I knew it was because like he cared. And
peaks and
valleys.
valleys.
Yeah, we had those, and we were on the roller coaster, that's for sure.
And there was times that he would yell at, you know, these guys. I remember one time at Indy, I think it was, you know, he went off on them guys, like the bike.
It was San Diego.
I mean,
there was a few of them.
He went there a few times, but I think it was actually, yeah, that it was JGR.
And I always took it well though. Like even when I was at Kawasaki, I always put myself in the situation. If it was my kid, I would do the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, and he knew it. Like he knew that's how my dad, Coy, you know, like
that was San Diego that you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm talking about San Diego.
The San Diego one. Yeah,
well, Coy didn't know your dad.
Yeah,
he's used to coaches like that, and. No. So he took them. They went in the truck and talked, but they were hugging like right after, like it was fine.
Yeah,
they respected each other. Like it wasn't like they weren't really going to fight. But
no, I know, and I know what actually made it. What got Corey mad was that it was in front of everybody. Yeah, you know, and like I remember him saying like he could say whatever to me, but like I got sponsors and all that. Yeah, like out here, don't do it in front of like, you know, in public. And my dad, like, he was like, I don't care. Like my kid, like he's struggling. I think I crashed or something, and he was feeling like that the bike was dangerous or whatever. And then so he was upset because like I was upset, And I was scared, and then he was like, well, I'm gonna go say something, because I was like, no, I actually remember it now. I was like, don't say anything to him, like, you know, like, they can't fix it. They can't fix it. And he was like, nah, Junior, like, then you ain't going racing. Like, I know you're gonna go out there and do it. And I was like, nah, just don't say anything to it. And he like walked out the bus and he said something to him. But everything was always because of me. So going back to what I was saying, I think, you know, my dad is sometimes, as hard as it was, like, I always knew the only reason he was like that was because he cared. And,
for
you know,
sure.
and I think that's, you know, when you look at, you know, the industry and stuff, like, you don't get that from everybody. And of course, like, if you have family, whatever, but there were some people, and he was like that. And I had some other guys that was like, they cared, you know, not cared about winning or cared about their success, but they actually cared. And, you know, what he was saying about the bike blowing up, that's caring. And, you know, so it was tough when, you know, when we decided to separate back in, you know, 2007, but I cared about him too. So I was okay with what he was doing, but it hurt. It was like my girl leaving. Like,
He wasn't really that good with it. He didn't talk. We didn't talk after that.
Well, I
till,
mean,
like, we would talk
I was hurt.
a couple years. Then you'd text me. We'd talk, and I thought everything was good. And then we don't talk again.
Well,
we talk again.
I would say, like, honestly, like,
But you're racing. Like, that's the thing.
that's
I
what
get
it was. Like, it wasn't like I didn't care.
Yeah.
Like, I was mad at you. It became like he became the enemy again.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, and that's how I looked at everything. Like, on there, it was part of what
but
we
you
were
have
talking
to.
about. The
You have to look at it that way.
It's what I was saying about the mentality of, like, the test guy. Like, well, I mean, he becomes the enemy. Like, and on there, even though we're all working the same. So it wasn't because you left. I think it was because I went to L&M. And then we started racing each other. So now we're fighting over the same Easter basket, like on the Yamaha stuff. And I was jealous at some of the stuff they were being able to get. And
I remember we did something. They put radios in our helmets for TV. And I was talking about your bike.
Oh,
in
yeah.
practice.
That didn't help either. Yeah.
So I was talking about his bike in practice about a sensor. And I didn't realize that they're using all that. And they put it in the show, me talking about the data acquisition that was on his bike and the sensors, which are legal. But then they said that telemetry is not legal on the show and acted like he was cheating, which they took it out of context.
Oh, they took it out of context.
Brooks was super mad.
I was
He thought
too.
they were all thinking we're like going against him and like calling him out, which that wasn't even the right time. And I was just looking at his bike, making comments, like not even.
Yeah.
But it's funny how this stuff all turns around differently.
Yeah, it was. It was. And not just the thing the same thing that bothered me with the whole suspension thing was the fact that people thought I would cheat. It was the same thing that got me with you guys. Like, when that sensor thing, the fact that I would cheat, like, I'm like, dude, that's the worst thing you can say to me. Cause I'm like, I don't need to, like, on there, beat all you guys. Cheating ain't the way to do it. I don't need to do that. So with the whole TV thing, it was like, why would another team, Yamaha, like, we're all on the same team, right? Like, why would they bring that up? And did what they do, like, on there, like, they were just, it was TV.
Yeah.
And then so it was like I was cheating on there. And then, you know, Brooks, being Larry, you know, he riled me up too. And but yeah, that was the one. That was probably the thing that I actually got mad at you, like, for on there. And
That's
then,
fine.
Yeah.
That was more Feld TV.
Yeah, I know. And
They played it up.
yeah, again, and when they were filming, it wasn't even on there. Like, that was the funny thing.
Yeah,
They
it was
were
during practice.
Yeah.
They circled something. It
They
wasn't even
circled
on
on
there
TV,
anymore.
like in the heat race, it wasn't even on there. So I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, I think you were even confused. You're like, are we cheating?
Yeah, like,
that's
I'm
what-
like, I knew what they were talking about, because at that point we all knew, like, you know, traction control, that's the biggest thing, was legal. And it became an issue when everybody went to EFIs, like, you know, and all that. But
Funny part is you don't even need any of those anymore. You can do it all off GPS. So
Yeah,
you
like-
can cheat now without even anyone knowing anyways.
it ain't even cheating now. Like,
No.
you're an idiot if you do get caught cheating, I would assume. But yeah, it's, if you can adjust. I remember, I forgot who told me, one of the data engineer guys back in there, he's like, if you can adjust the way this thing, you know, response throttle and all that by computer, then it's traction control.
Yeah.
It's traction control. Like, instead of like we doing with flywheels and all that, you do it by a computer. So technically they all cheating,
Yeah.
because if you change
Every
the jetting,
team's doing
it's like you're trying to get it so the thing is running right. You're controlling the engine. That's traction control. So you know, but they were trying to say it on the GPS and all that, which, you still know where it's at. So
Get got a lot of attention from that.
that's what it
actually.
was. Again,
I loved it.
Yeah.
The Get unit, which it was awesome. We bought one after that. Just so you know. We were the first second customer.
Yeah, we were the first one. We had this big old like
Orange
thing right here, and it was like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, the
and
tag,
then I'm like, well, they're highlighting that down there, but they look right here, like you'd be like, whatever. But yeah, but it was the EFI. They were the first outside company to come in to help you like jet the bike or clean it up. And
yeah, it's pretty crazy what these bikes can do. Like, you really can tune anything you want. Like I remember you telling us to do stuff to the bike. Like he was good at the end. You talked about testing earlier. At the end, he got really good at what he wanted. I don't know that it works for everyone, but it worked for you really well.
Yeah, I think it was more like I knew some things I would test. I knew it was wrong, like on there, but I was trying to set it up that made me feel comfortable. And a lot of stuff I did was sometimes I would make the thing stiff just to have feedback on there because I didn't like bikes that didn't have feedback. So I would make it stiff just so I can feel it in my hands, like on there. And so doing that, like people always like, oh, that's how you lose the front end. Well, that's one of the negatives to having it stiff. But I did it for a reason because, you know, I needed to know where the front wheel was because I ride on the front. And I remember I switched. I went to a triple clamp after talking to Sergio, and he was showing me like, you know, analytics and like, look, the way the bike is, like, you shouldn't have 25 clamps on there. Like, and he showed me numbers, and he was like, it doesn't make sense. And so I put it on for one race and went out there and lost the front end without even knowing it, and woke up in the hospital. And I was like, I'm going back to 25s. And that's the reason I had it. I want things to slow down. I need feedback. And so I would set my bike up knowing that it might not make sense to these guys, but it makes a lot of sense to my hands, which registers to what I'm trying to do. So, but yeah, I think that's the one thing helping Chase and helping, you know, other guys is that when I talk to the Honda guys or whoever, like, they're like, damn, like, okay, like he understands this like a lot, like, you know, really well. And they question that just because of the way I set, you know, my bike up and stuff. But, you know, I learned a lot from, you know, these guys and through testing. Like I know what's right. It just might not be right for me on there. Sometimes you got to be wrong to be right. And that's how I felt with my motorcycle. So that's why I struggled so much on the Yamaha, is because like they took all the weight off the front end and I couldn't feel it. So that's why things were happening and I didn't even know they were happening. So
yeah, it was funny. We had one outdoor test, if you remember, as a new fork. The year Roncada was battling with you at Hangtown. But we tested a fork earlier on, and you said you couldn't feel any bumps. You didn't like it. But that's like what everyone would want. Like, this fork was awesome, this fork and shock combo.
He had the double D's on there.
But it was awesome. And he's like, I don't want it. I need to feel the bumps. And we're like, okay. So then we went to the race. Roncada was battling with you, and you were mad after. So then we came back. He's like, I want those forks that you can't feel the bumps now. So then we had to figure out how to homologate them, which is super tough. And because we did it late. So I remember Mount Morris, actually. Yeah. We had a sleeve made because the forks were a different size, and we couldn't get triple clamps made in time. And I remember we were running these forks that
went to like 48, right?
Yeah, they were like way ahead of its time, and you could tell the difference. And they were going to be, so what Kawasaki did is they basically bought a works fork, and then they would sell it if you bought it as another person, because that's the rule. You have to be able to buy it to ride it. So they were going to lose money every time someone bought it. So we had them on there, and they were on the way. And if someone ordered them maybe a day early, we might have been not legal. We probably could have rushed it, but we were like worried. We didn't want anyone to know. And I was sitting there taking my forks off, and the sleeve fell out, and Dan Bentley was right there at the fence talking to us, and I'm like, oh no, this guy's going to notice that we have a different fork in here. We're going to get in trouble. He never said it, which he's usually like catches everything. But I was so worried about it, like we talked about it at the next Monday meeting, but no one ever ordered them.
Yeah, I remember that.
We got away with it, and it was legal, but you know, it's tough to hit those deadlines because I think you have to do it within 3 weeks. Yeah, we did it all so late.
Yeah, because there was a difference between a works fork and a kit fork.
Yeah.
And what he's talking about is basically like when they went to, I think it was unleaded fuel. not homologation rule, but just the rule for 125s to try to make it somewhat, fair for everybody. Like you had to kind of run like what Mitch Payton saw, which was like a kit fork, like through Ford.
And it's still like that.
Show it.
But Roncada had.
No, Roncada
He just
didn't.
had
He was
power.
on the 4-stroke, and we didn't know at that time how good the 4-stroke was. So
Yeah.
you carried speed so well in the corner that I think it band-aided how good the 4-stroke really was.
I mean, just look at Rhino. Like, dude, I don't think he finished a podium all year. And the guy almost won the title the year before. Like, he was, anybody who was on the 125 was like not even like top 10 barely. And I was the only person on the 2-stroke. And then the funny thing was, it was even double the gap to the 250 and 450.
Yeah.
Like, and that was a tough time. That was a tough time because it was like the first time in my whole career that I was like.
I can't do it.
I can't do it. Like, and dude, I was dying trying. And that was tough. That was tough.
That was the toughest year, actually.
Yeah, it was. Because
the bike, Kawasaki was supposed to come out with a bike before that.
we tested it up in Colorado.
Yeah,
Like before
but then
preseason.
they didn't think it was ready for production, so they scrapped it and started over. And then James took it like they lied to him because in the contract they said that was coming when you signed the last contract.
Yeah.
But, in their defense, which you can look at now, it wasn't ready, so they didn't want it to go to production, which you could look at it either way. Maybe they should have rushed it anyway, but that's not how the Japanese do things. They're too careful. They take a long time to make decisions, and when you're a race team, you need to do it quick, and especially when you guys need something.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was hard just because, I mean, it was the reason I was losing. And then even when they came out with the following year, like, it had a 4-stroke engine in it, but it was a little suspect too. Remember it had those like lines in the frame, and then the 2007 it got a lot better. But yeah, we tested it in Colorado the year before or whatever. Yeah. And it was part of the reason I was like, okay, I'll sign here. We knew we needed to go that direction. So of course you show up and like you can't get it. But even still then, like I was like, I'll still beat Ricky. Like whatever. Like I'm who I am. I ain't never lost. And boy, I had a wake up call, and then it took me a long time, like races, to realize that it ain't you. Like it wasn't me, but the fans and Scott Taylor, and even the guys like in Fox, like he separated that team just like it was on the team. Like you started like, dude, you bring me my gear. It's like Roger, like all of a sudden like switching, like, oh, hey buddy, I love you. And then like, he can't, like it's him. It ain't the 4-stroke. It's James. If Ricky could do it on 2-stroke, and man, it was tough because like everybody was believing in that. And
yeah, I remember Roger yelling at me at Unadilla when you landed on Ricky. Roger
it was his fault. It was his fault. I ain't gonna lie.
I would say that if I was calling it now, that was a racing accident. Like you didn't jump on him on purpose.
No. I mean, anybody that thinks that is a retard.
But I remember Fox was all mad, right? Didn't they call you in?
It was
about
Scott Taylor. Yeah, Scott Taylor. I mean, no animosity to him, but like he was protecting his boy. Like I expect Roger to do the same thing.
Well, and I'm sure Ricky went to Scott Taylor, and then I mean, I can understand because we were struggling, but if you go back to that race, I was doing that line every single lap. Like I was in front of Ricky, like, so I didn't know what he was. So I did the same thing, like over, and I was going to pass him back. And then he goes on the inside and he actually brakes. He slows down like to protect the inside, which if you went inside, you just faded out to the outside. So I thought, I'm like, okay, I'm just square him up right here. And he slows down to protect it. And I'm like, uh-oh. And I jump on him, but like, and you got the worst part of that.
Oh, I got the worst part of it, but that section and all that, like there was no way I could ever jump on him.
Yeah, no one would jump on somebody right there. There's no way.
Yeah, and if you even look at it, like I actually try to turn. Like once I see him slowing down, I actually try to turn to go back. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, the guy's slowing down, but like he slams on a brake right here, and I'm like, you can see my wheel. I turn and try to go back, but on TV, you don't realize how off camera that whole section is. So there was no way I thought he was going to go inside. And the fact is, like, Ricky being behind me, he saw me taking that line. So you kind of, and that's why he braked, because he was trying to block. I'm laying there and I'm like, oh, whatever. Like,
Yeah, that was
yeah.
terrible. That was a bad day right there.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, and then he throws a bike, and again, it was tough. But I mean, my whole life was about January 9th. Didn't help either on the RaceX cover. But yeah, there it is. It starts right there, and then like I remember Bone, like he probably was hiding in the thing over there, like laying in the cut. Genie right there.
Yelling, yeah.
And again, like, you know, Ricky's actually never said, as many times I talked to him, he's never brought it up.
Really?
I think he knows it's a racing incident.
Yeah.
I remember when Roger was yelling at me, not you, Roger.
Well,
I'm like, I wasn't on the back. Why are you yelling at me?
Yeah.
What did I have to do with that?
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll hash it out at this table sometimes.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally a racing accident. That's not even as bad as Craig and
No.
Freeze.
Big J's pissed though.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
But like, I would
there's
look at
Malcolm.
I'd be pissed too. Like, I get it
Yeah.
all the way around. That was not good for anyone right there. But that was not on purpose.
No. I mean, shoot, I didn't want to, like, I was
Why would
happy
you
to
do that?
win up there winning the race. And yeah, there was no way that I was, I mean, look at me. I'm like cuckoo. I look like, you know, Anderson and then those guys this year. I was gone
Yeah.
on there. Like, there's no way in hell I would jump on like him. And especially at that time, like, there was a lot of like heat against me because I was struggling that year. I was missing race. And Ricky he was like kind of the golden boy and motocross the nations, all this stuff. And I wouldn't have done that just from the way it would have looked, like what ended up happening, the backlash I would have had. I didn't want to beat him that bad.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like it wasn't like that.
Yeah, it's funny how the fans get so negative quick.
Well, I think a part of it goes to, and what I realized, even speaking on the cameras and stuff, like I'm sending a message. Like when the guys talk on television, they're actually telling you the story of how to think. Like, you know, when they talk about when, you know, Ricky and those guys are talking about the Craig situation, like, you know, he's just speaking like, you know, what he saw on there. But I guess being on hindsight, like you don't realize how powerful like your message is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're telling people how to think when, you know, when they're watching the race live with you. So if you say it's bad, that's what they're going to think. And now you got to try to convince them, or they got to figure it out their own self and go against what you just said. So it's just, you know, with the TV stuff and just the way, you know, Taylor and everybody was looking, it looked like I would do it on purpose because I've been struggling. I wanted to beat Ricky all year long. So why not jump on his ass like on there? And then so that was the perception. But, you know, Ricky's never said anything to me about that. I mean, even the Coster, like nobody's ever brought that up because I think they do know, you know, there's a lot of things you can do and that's not one. And that's why I was kind of went freezy like on there. Like I think at one point he thought about like blasting this dude, but you know, I think he came to his senses and like, nah, this ain't gonna work. But you know, just like me and him, like
Yeah,
perception
it still happens.
Yeah.
No gray hair.
I got a question. So, like in this one, we got Unadilla. This is a good one. What did you think was happening? Like up
is this
there?
when
Yeah.
you read when you pulled over?
Yeah, this is when I saw.
I honestly thought the bike was breaking at first.
because we did have some bike failures that year. Yeah.
So that you were slowing down. You're like coming to a stop right there just after Gravity Cavity.
Why? What was the bike issue earlier that year? Was there something that?
Well, it could always be something. Those things
No,
would
but there
catch
wasn't like
rings,
a-
reeds.
There wasn't like a specific.
He didn't lead a seat off. The bolt out the seat and that thing fell off like my dad did one time. But
Right here, I'm thinking the bike's blowing up because right here when you rolled this is when I got freaked out. I'm like, oh no, what's he doing?
Yeah.
Like, and then I'm like, what? And then when you got on the gas right here, then I'm like, oh, now I know what he's doing. I can't believe he's doing that right now. And then after the race, I said, I can't believe you really let him buy it. What are you going to do if you didn't beat him? And you said, I was going to say the bike.
I was going to say I had an
was
arm
messed
pump or
up.
something. Yeah. I had
I'm
it,
like,
but
oh, that's not cool.
I mean,
You're going to blame it on me.
no, I think I was
Look
going
at
to say
Reed.
the bike on there and then I just blew past him right here. But
Yeah, you did.
You know-
You should have like rode on him a little longer if you knew.
nah, because
You just wanted to prove it though
It's
and take
still
off.
so gnarly because if it didn't,
No one
work
does
out,
that.
Yeah, if it didn't work out,
you know the
This
reason.
is exactly how. This is why you're good because you thought to do something like that.
Well, I mean, I didn't think about it until I was there, like on there. I'm like, I feel pretty good on this track. And this is a European track. And I knew this is the one that people were saying, like, if out of all of them, he would be, like, this is when he'd get me.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with Unadilla like when I came here. So I got out front. I knew he was like in third place. Sorby held him off for a while, and I like dipped out. But the only reason I didn't play with Reed because I did have respect for him, and like I wouldn't have let him by again because he was still good like on there. Like it wasn't like I was, a guy that I can just keep doing that. Like when I pass him back, I'm like, dude, I'm going like on there. The dude might actually get me. He's good enough to do that. So, and I know if I was him, if that would have happened, I would have done everything on there. But I think he was confused. Like,
well, like all of us, I really was too. When I did that interview, that was honest. I really had no idea what you were doing.
But explain your background and why you thought to do that.
Well, I think part of it started back in Supercross. When I was racing the West Coast, and then he started coming in. And even though like I was crashing in the West Coast, like everybody knew I was like the fastest guy, the guy coming up, even though Preston won championship. But then Reed comes in and he's winning everything, making it look easy on the East Coast. And I think at that time, like nobody kind of expected him to be that good, even though the guy was getting like top fives in the 250 class in the West Coast before. But he kind of came out of like nowhere, and they thought Brownie and I think it was Jessamine might have been racing, and Langston, they were going to be the guys. Well, Reed just handed them, beat them all that year, except for Jessamine one race. So going into Vegas, they start pitting not the two champions, but Reed versus me, because we were clearly the fastest ones. So I took that personally because I'm like, I'm the best. Like by that time I started winning after Dallas, and I won not Seattle, but Salt Lake City. It was first race. I didn't crash all year. It gave me a lot of confidence. And then so going into Vegas, I was starting to like believe that I was like as good as I was. So I took it personally, and then I whooped up on them in Vegas on there. And then it was the same thing outdoors. They were like, oh, he's a better outdoor rider, 4-stroke. And then I won the first few, and even though we had Brown and Langston, it was always like Reed like on there. And I knew out of all those guys, he was the one, even though he wasn't getting, like Brownie would beat him and he had number one play. I knew Reedy was the guy. He was better than all of them. So he kept saying he kept getting bad starts, and if he just got a start, he would like beat me. Well, he did get a start, and I pulled away from him, but I didn't even want no excuses. Like I was like, all right, well, he can say like Sorby held him up or whatever. So like halfway through the race, I'm like, well, I'm a little halfway. I only got like 10 minutes to outrun him. I'm slowing down. So I let it happen.
Tagline, no excuses.
Yeah. And then, but it was always, it was nothing he did. Cause I didn't even talk to Chad. Like we never got any like, me and Brownie had animosity. He took me out at a test track one time. But at Glen Helen, he got into me trying to like, the first one, like I ended up running in him, knocking him down, but he was trying to like, bully me and all that. So we had beef, and then, but me and Chad never.
What happened at the test track with you and Brownie?
He took me out because I was like, I was just good. I mean, he was on Mitch Payton, and
he skipped the Payton thing too. So
yeah, that probably didn't sit.
Yeah, I want to talk about that too, because that's one I don't know if a lot of people know about.
Yeah, that probably didn't sit well with.
No.
Well, I mean, just like him being the mechanic, like coming over to Kawasaki was being the factory rider. That was like one of the difference between, well, Honda offered me that. And then, cause I could have rode, I think Honda had a lights team.
They did, but you were skipping it.
Yeah.
Same thing. That's why you had to do it at Kawasaki, because Honda was going to let you go straight to the truck. And then your dad's like, how come you guys don't go straight to the truck?
Well, it wasn't even skipping it. You still had factory 125 riders back then. It was before they changed it all and they took away, because you had 24 Fonseca. He was a factory 125. Huffman was a factory Kawasaki 125 rider.
Yeah, I think in '96 though. It was a long time before that.
No, I mean, I think even Ward at one time, he was like a factory 125. So in 2002, Fonseca was a factory Honda 125 rider. There was still a couple of trying to think. Honda and Suzuki were still doing factory like teams. So it was like well, they're doing it and they offered it. So like, why not? And at that time, if you can go factory, there was a difference between a factory team perception, whatnots, and then the Mitch Paytons back then. You know, you had the two, or now it's you know, Mitch Payton's 250 and then 450 is factory. You had the two and the lights. So it was like Honda, they never even brought up the other team. It was always like, well, you're a factory rider. You're here. We believe in you. So we told Kawasaki, they were like, all right, we'll do it. Well, they didn't tell Mitch, apparently. And I think they were trying to get away from that. It might have been the first or second year they were trying to get away from that factory team and put all the effort into focusing on the big bike class and let Mitch and do that. Because, again, perception was Mitch was second tier on there, even though he wasn't. And, you know, so they were trying to get away from that. And then they told us, you know, your factory. So Mitch didn't like that. So I remember showing up at the test track. It was a big old deal. And I don't know how it folded. Bruce said he handled it. Well, we showed up at the test track and they had Pro Circuit graphics
at the photo
under
shoot,
the factory team. Like, I was going to be on the factory team, but with Pro Circuit graphic. And Big J, he was like,
he never got out of the car.
No, he's like,
way.
don't
He
you
sat in
get
the
on
car
that
all
motor.
day. Yeah.
He wouldn't even let me ride it. Like, he was like, no. Like,
You
no.
did come out and ride it though.
Yeah, because
and then we had to redo the shoot.
because I'm like, it's like the first time, like, I'm nobody. Like, I'm the amateur kid coming up. It's not like it was the second or third year. Like, I mean, like, I might not even be that good. And Rick Ash thought I wasn't that good as many times I crashed in the whoops. But yeah, he was like, but that's how my dad was. Like, I mean, that confidence that he was like, you're not a privateer. You're the best. That's kind of like my mindset. And that's why I believed in myself. And it was him sitting in the car right there. Like, it was like, that's what made me who I was. So yeah, we had to do it. And, you know, understandably, like, I understand why Kawasaki did it. I understand why, like, my dad was upset, because it was the fact that, like, they still didn't tell us and we showed up and it was like that. Cause he didn't know. I remember that. And then now we had to redo it, and then history's history.
Yeah, I can see that not sitting well.
So that created ripples
there was worse stuff than that started out. So when he first did it, so when you weren't going to go to Pro Circuit, Mitch was really mad, which I don't blame him now.
Oh,
But-
no, everyone
but we
else
had to
that's gone
say-
through that has gone to his
Yeah,
team. So
and he's like, I'm going to
expected.
miss out on James, and I've been helping him this whole time, and then you're just going to skip me now that you get to Pro. So he was bummed, and he took it personally that you're skipping because you didn't think he was good.
Well, it wasn't that. It was what Mitch didn't know was that it wasn't like we're not riding Pro Circuit. It was the fact that, like, when the Kawasaki was negotiating, they told us, and also
They did say it, yeah.
we are going to give you the factory team. That's just, it's a bonus.
Right.
So Mitch was looking at it as like, I didn't want to go on his team. It wasn't even offered. And then afterwards, after we signed the deal and we turned down the Honda, then Kawasaki came back to us like, well, you know, Mitch ain't happy, and we get our stuff through him. And then my dad was like, what you told us, this is one of the reasons we came here on there. So this ain't, and then that's when they were trying to figure out. So yeah, of course it made Mitch, and I don't think he didn't know that it wasn't even offered it to us. It wasn't that we didn't think he was good, because I mean, Ricky just won 3 titles right before on that, and we knew it was. It just wasn't even an option, and you know, so that's where it came from. And then I wanted him as my mechanic, so it became awkward. Like, well, he's gonna build a bike where here in Pro Circuit, whatever it was. So that's how it started.
Yeah, I actually worked at Kawasaki, and I was going to go build at Pro Circuit once a week to be there to make it so that because they didn't want me to just build it at Kawasaki, because then it's not like I'm there. So we were trying to figure out a way to make Mitch happy, and it was not working. And then still try to like make James and his dad happy, which wasn't happening. So we weren't making anyone happy. And the communication was the problem, like always. You did come to the photo shoot not knowing that. They wanted to have Pro Circuit graphics, so he looked like everybody else. And it blew up. So then we ended up taking those graphics off, reshooting. Then we needed Mitch because the transmissions were blowing up.
Yeah.
So then we had to call Mitch because he had transmissions made from X-Track that were like the best ones ever. And we're like, hey, we need to get transmissions or we can't race Anaheim. And he loved it, like mad, but loved it. And he actually did give them to us, which was cool. He did hold out on, like, when we were doing all the testing, he wouldn't give us pipes. We had to use other brands. FMF ended up being really cool, so we used FMF.
Really?
all the way up till it was getting time to go racing. Then Mitch gave in and gave us stuff.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't that FMF was doing a bad job either. It just was that now we needed to look like we couldn't do this to our partner.
Yeah.
Which, like, in the end, when Fisher did other stuff with the FMF energy drink and all that caused problems, like, that was dumb. Like, going through this little thing with you, I knew what they were doing was not the right thing.
Yeah.
Because you're partners. You can't do that to people.
I mean, that's how, I mean, I got fired without knowing I got fired or being replaced. That's why I was, like, I didn't leave Kawasaki. Like, they didn't rehire me. And it was because of, like, you know, it was Fisher, like, on there. He never told me, like, on there. So it was a tough deal. But, like, yeah, there was a lot of stuff that people don't understand behind the scenes. But Mitch, you know, he knew, like, I mean, I think he figured out how, like, upset, like, we were. And you know, you can tell by shock at people and him and my dad talked. And Mitch is, you know, he's a stand-up person. Like, he wants to win just like everybody.
How are you and Mitch now?
We're fine. Like, we were always fine.
He was awesome.
Yeah,
He was only mad at the beginning, but he was fine once we were racing. Everything was good. When he knew you were that good, he was fine. He respected it. He was good to us.
Yeah.
It came around.
From when talking to Mitch, and he might have just said that to us, but I think it was more, at one point he found out, like, that it was what we were told on there about the factory team. So I think that helped him, you know, just be like, you know, like, I'm mad at Kawasaki and I'm like, hold off, but I'm not going to hurt James, you know, like, at the end of the day, like, you know, like, I want him in my product too. And he knew, like, you know, wasn't us that was doing it. We wasn't saying he was bad. It was just the way it was. And at that time, like, that was just kind of, you know, some things it's rather just let it go and see what happens than rather just say it up front and, you know, from upstairs. So it ended up working out. But it was tough. And I remember, like, damn, like, Brownie's bike is fast over there. And we had to get our stuff from, you know, Mitch and stuff. And then that's when Rick really started, you know, putting some, you know, effort in the 125s and making that thing good. But yeah, it was. So I think from then, Brownie was their guy at Pro Circuit. So we always had, like, a little bit of animosity because he was that guy. And, you know, narrative was James doesn't think this team is that good, whatever they want to think. And so Brownie was, he was always just kind of like a bully per se. He was always that way towards everybody. So I was the one guy that wasn't, like, you know, whatever. And so he took me out one time at a test track for no reason because they were doing something motos, and it might have been my fault. I think they were doing some motos, and I came by and passed all of them anyway. And he got pissed and he just took me off. And I remember Mark Johnson telling him that you do that again, like, who do you think's gonna lead? James on there, and that was it. And then so Brownie
liked Mark then.
Oh, I liked that. Yeah, but yeah. I mean, he could have hurt me. You know, it wasn't like I was messing with him. Maybe I was, but he knew, like, you can't do that. Like, I mean, it was a cheap shot. Took me out. And then he ended up riding for Yamaha Detroit next year, so I guess he wasn't that happy. But I stayed. But yeah, it was good. Yeah, but there were some good times. But you were there, dude. Like, you were there the whole time. That was cool. Means a lot. What do you think is probably the most difficult time, like, outside of obviously we struggled in, I guess, 2005, but, like, our relationship, just, I guess, as a mechanic, I mean, we know what happened at JGR, but as far as racing, like,
I didn't really have any bad moments really with you. I mean, I didn't feel like there was any. You might have some, but I felt like we always got along pretty good. Yeah, your dad yelled at us a few times, but it was never at me. Like, actually, one time I did mess up on the bike, and I told you guys what I did. It was, like, at Steel City in practice, because every time we used to do Saturday practice, race Sunday, and every time I'd have to rebuild the bike. So we take the top end off, check the rod, look at the reeds, and I drop. There's a little plastic thing that goes on the carburetor hoses, and when I was changing the reeds, that fell in there.
Yeah.
So then when you were riding practice, it, like, sucked it in there and, like, held the reed open. So we had to push it off.
Yeah.
And then I went and took the bike apart, which I easily could have not said what it was, but I showed everybody what it was and told you guys I messed up. And that was, like, the only time personally that I messed up.
Yeah,
Now the bike did have problems here and there, but not anything that was from me. That was
Yeah.
the thing from me.
Yeah, I never had any issues with us, and even like that I do remember that, and even when my bike blew up at Southwick, and the 2 times it blew up at in 2002,
That was the cylinder stud.
yeah, I remember
broke.
we were on the gate, and I did the parade lap, and I come back, and I think that's when you used to have to check to see if the gas is on. Like I used to always do it just out of habit.
Well, if you look at it, it's
Yeah.
cut off.
Yeah.
Like if you don't turn it on,
Yeah.
you're not getting it on with your
And they-
fingers because
Yeah.
we shaved it down too
Yeah,
low.
I think I started like the way I grip my bike. I used to like move it on there, but nonetheless, I remember looking down and the thing was like vibrating, like just sitting on the gate.
Yeah,
And,
because the cylinder stud broke.
yeah,
So then I'm like on the radio trying to see what I should do because you can't change a cylinder stud that quick. And on practice bikes, they have done it and they last. And I think it would have lasted at any other track except for
for that.
Southwick. And that place, it got bikes always. That's
Yeah.
where you test
Yeah.
that thing to the limit.
What'd they tell you to do?
race.
Yeah,
So just run it. Nothing.
I mean, we're
yeah,
not
because there's nothing you can do, and we didn't think that was going to happen. But then it was funny because after that race, those were titanium studs, and the Mitch is like, "You guys were running those? That was stupid. I haven't ran those for years. You guys are idiots. I could have told you that."
must be the
But
factory
he-
team. Yeah,
yeah.
right. Yeah,
But
yeah.
we
No,
wanted all the baddest stuff on there, like even that magnesium carburetor we ran at Glen Helen.
yeah.
But they were like $10,000 a piece.
Yeah, triple clamps on there. Like I
Yeah,
mean,
those
those
are
magnesium
magnesium.
triple clamps. We had
Spent some money on those
we
bikes.
we did the old GP trick. We had the little fairings on the where
Oh, yeah, the
the
carbon.
radiator. Yeah, those things are like sick looking, and it was like just our hubs were different. Like it was a factory looking motorcycle. But I think that what made it a little bit difficult, or I guess nervous, was that we just had a DNF the race before. Remember at High Point. I remember I hurt my knee in practice. I don't know what I did.
What
Tore
would
some
you DNF?
meniscus.
What was the DNF from?
So first race, goes 2-1 at the first race, and it's 2002. The next one is the mud race at Hangtown. Go 1-1-1. So going into High Point, I hurt my knee in Saturday practice, like bad, and we're going to the hospital, whatnot. So on Saturday, or maybe it was Sunday or whatever, I just remember leaving. Like I rode one practice and leaving, going to the hospital. You probably remember this, and coming back right before the first moto. Like didn't ride second practice. I couldn't even like my knee was swollen up, and didn't even know if I was going to race. He had the bike, and then so I ended up racing my knee, and I ended up getting fourth the first moto, and then the second moto I felt better just because I was loosened up, and then I was in fourth battling with Ernie, and my bike blew up. So we just DNF. Chad went 1-1. And then the next race, the first moto, is when I'm looking at the gate and the thing's spinning. And I was out front winning that moto.
Yep, went up in smoke.
Yep, thing blew up. But luckily for us, Chad knocked his shoulder out that moto. So it was like a tie. We didn't lose any points. And then I won the second moto. And then I won everything else after that, except for one moto.
And the titanium
two
studs
motos.
were out after that. Never again. Learned our lesson.
So
Yep.
what was easier, wrenching for him or managing him at JGR?
Oh, wrenching for him.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Yeah, because now he's in the corporate office now. Like it wasn't.
Yeah, it's a different relationship, really.
Yeah, and
Like
even
he thinks I'm against him. When I was manager, I never was against him.
Yeah, but I think that's
I
why
was
you
about to
made
say
a
that.
good team manager, because you see it from all sides. You see it from the racer side. You see it from the sponsor side even, and the management side.
Yeah, he it's funny he said that. Even I thought you were that way, even though I knew you wasn't that way. On there, I just knew when you're in that position, you got a corporate, like you're like in Bruce, like it's like you got to say no. And partly, I actually think I wanted you to work for me when I came to JGR. I think that was a conversation like, well, can you like wrench, like be my mechanic? I know you do your thing, have Patty or whoever build a bike, but I wanted like him on there. And I just thought like, coming off of L&M and then, trying to get back to where I was, like he would help me get there. And he did. But I think when it was more, we went into the relationship wrong. Like we're going into it, before we even get together, the Suzuki stuff happens. So we already went in there thinking about it. He caught me. They were texting another girl and I just caught him. He didn't do anything yet, so we went in that. So it was always you know, and then with my history with Yamaha, it wasn't that hard to fall back into the same thing. But, you know, the biggest thing, like me as a racer, I just kept like I would like go to the gate, whatever, like knowing, oh man, I can't do it. And then like soon as those bikes started up, dude, I forgot all that. And that was the scariest part because like you just get hurt like on there. And I knew I would get hurt on there because I couldn't as a person, I couldn't not give it all my all. And, you know, so, you know, not going back on that, but it was tough. So I think all that being said, like, you know, of course, like hey, you can ride Suzukis, and like when you look at the team, it was him and Coy, you know. So of course, I'm gonna look at that. Well, those are leaders; those are the guys that's telling me, and I'm not able to do it. But I never not trusted a guy. Like, I mean, he had bosses and stuff. It's just, you know, we all wanted something, we couldn't get it, so somebody has to get the blame, you know, for it. But you know, that didn't stop anything. Like everybody tried, like we tried as hard as I wouldn't have done anything, and no matter how it would have ended up, like I gave it everything I had, you know, and you know, those guys did the same thing too. So it was never a lack of effort or a trust thing or whatnot. It was just, it didn't work out, you know, it didn't work out. And so, yeah, we went ways. I do, you know, feel bad, or it does suck to like know, like we just wasted like years and like for what, but that's kind of life in general. Like I wish I would have done a lot of different things. Like I would have saw the world the way I see it now, you know? But I don't think anybody does. It wasn't done on purpose. It's just, you realize like, so childish. Like, why the hell you was even mad at the guys? And, you know, again, just like the motor concept thing and the Sesams thing, like he didn't know the Yamaha and all that. And I wasn't even mad at whatever they were talking about. I never was riding that thing again. So, you know, he could put whatever on that bike, motor concept, and I wasn't going over there either. So, but again, you know, he says one thing, it gets in the magazine, and I remember reading it, and I'm like, man, like, why do you say that? But, you know, if I was mad, I was already mad. That didn't make me mad. So.
Yeah, it's all good.
Oh,
We
we
all
good.
live and learn. Maybe we'll have somebody else fix their problems a little earlier than we did.
Yeah.
But we're all good.
Yeah. Well, like you said, and I truly believe that it's made us, all the problems and things that we went to makes you really appreciate where you're at today, you know? Yeah. So I don't think like the fact that we went through that and it's childish or whatever it was, like it makes me really appreciate you being here today and like to be able to have these conversations, and like I'm actually glad we did. Like, yeah, so
same here.
You know. All right, well, let's take a quick break, and then you got something. I guess you got a little list of question bones list or some memories. Let's see if we can get into that. So we'll be right back. All right, guys, that was part 1 of episode 7 with Mr. Albrecht. You want to see the part 2? Tune in next week, and we'll get it for you then. Talk soon.